We're with you, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the Grape to Grape live tasting. It's great to have you on board as we revisit one of our favourite things to do, which is to get drunk on camera with you beautiful fuckers at home. Thanks everybody joining us on Zoom, and of course all of our legions of YouTube likes and subscribes. Make sure you like and subscribe. Make sure you smash that like and subscribe button, guys, on the Grape to Grape live YouTube channel. Grape to Grape live tasting. We're going to one of our favourite spots. I've been there. You're going to go there next year. I'm going to come with you, show you around.
You're not going to come with me.
Okay. I thought we were going to do something as friends.
No. Maybe. Yeah, it's definitely bucket list.
Awkward start to tasting, mate. I don't know what to say to you, mate.
Bucket list for me, man. Sicily produces some of my all-time favourite Italian wines.
Yeah, everybody's, mate. It just absolutely bangs it out the park, doesn't it? Pretty much unstoppable. The thing I love about Sicily, apart from the obvious, you know, it's beautiful. It's hugely varied in its kind of in its terroir. You know, but it means it can be all things to all men. It's not just kind of super over extracted heavy nonsense. What we're also dealing with here is actually some incredibly refined wines. In Etna, the mountain range next to Etna, which Etna is sort of the tail end of. It's a full 15 degrees difference in temperature to down in the kind of the Agrigento, Menfi area, sort of on the south coast. It might as well be a different country. It's like different soil, obviously, different levels of moisture in the air and in the soil, but also different trees everywhere. It's all pine trees everywhere. Whereas you go down into the kind of boiling eye of Sauron, south coast of Sicily, there just are no fucking trees. You know, it's just like, it's absolutely mental. But because of this kind of huge variety of stuff going on there, you can have a huge variety of different wines, which makes a tasting like this really, really easy to put together.
Yeah, absolutely. We're particularly focusing on two different regions. We've got 3 wines from their sort of home HQ winery / vineyards in Menfi near Umo, and we're doing a couple of wines from Etna if you did go for that bonus bottle, which I'm incredibly excited to try, which is a traditional method sparkling made from Caricante.
Exactly. So we have a huge variety of different things to try tonight. Run through the lineup of what we've got, because there are some life-changing world-changing wines on offer here, and a wine that none of us have tried before, which is quite exciting. In the Merlot.
Absolutely, we're doing just discarding the bonus bottle for now. We're doing 2 indigenous grape varieties to the island. We're starting off with a Griot, which is a hybrid grape variety of 2 other indigenous grape varieties. Then, following on, this one should definitely be out of the fridge for now, because we know that chill is the killer of flavor. We don't want this one too cold, because it's an incredibly layered, textured, beautiful Chardonnay that changed Sicilian viticulture to the rest of the world, which is the Chardonnay. It's wine number 2. Following on for that, we're going to go for a Nerello Mascalese. This is grown on the slopes of Mount Etna. We recommend to be serving this chilled, particularly because, well, we're in Manchester. It's not particularly sunny, but it is nice and warm and relatively humid.
Pretty muggy. So a chilled red wine is actually not that mad of a thing to suggest.
Absolutely. One of the highlights of the in-store tasting last week, this one was right next to the Chardonnay.
Oh, was it up there, was it?
Absolutely, mate. Yeah, it's a fantastic wine. Can't wait for you to try that. Really, really nice story about it as well. And I'm finishing off on the Sito dell'Ulmo, which is their single vineyard, single varietal Merlot from their home ranch winery, so to speak. And I'm finishing off with the bonus bottle, a traditional method, so made in the exact same way as champagne, a sparkling Caricante with incredible amount of lees aging on there. We combined about 24 months on that lovely lees. Yeah,
100%.
Cannot wait for that one.
My vibe.
New for me as well. That one.
Huge fan of plenty of lees aging. Right, okay. Just to reiterate one more time, we want to chill wine number 1. Nice. That wants to be nice and cold. The Chardonnay, let it open up a little bit. The red. The Nerello chilled. If you haven't done, you want to chill it, then you can put it in now and it will chill nicely by the time we get around to it, and decant the Merlot. We're good to go. The cheese is room temperature as always. Right, so
playlist.
Baz, you took an inordinate amount of pleasure from this playlist.
Some actual native Sicilian artists on there. I didn't know any of the songs, so I just went for the one with the most plays. So yeah, there's some lovely Eros Ramazzotti, some Zucchero, some Laura Pausini. Some,
Laura Pausini.
Yeah.
Ti sputo tutta la faccia.
Pronto. So yeah, lovely playlist to really get the multi-sensory experience. Even the sounds in the background can almost transport you there to the lovely Isle of Sicily.
Right, without further ado, let's get fucking transported, but with some bloody wine right in our gobs, shall we? So we're going to go through how to taste wine. You guys should all have had this emailed out to you. This is the menu. Obviously, it was emailed out to you because the login details are all incorrect.
Awesome. Good start.
So everyone was struggling to get onto the Zoom when it's first started. So there we go. But we want to use this as a reflector. We'll go through how to taste wine very, very quickly because we've got lots of people who know kind of what the crack is here.
Or maybe not you people on our YouTube channel.
Yeah, hey guys, make sure you smash that like and subscribe button. But we're going to take our glass, tilt it about 45 degrees and hold it over the back of the menu so we can look through it, look at 4 or 5 key things. The depth of color, the intensity of color, give us evidence of the youth of the wine, particularly with these first 2 wines. There will be a striking difference, not just because Grillo and Chardonnay are 2 different grapes, but also because they've been treated in 2 very vastly different ways. Around the edge, we're not going to see any kind of halo of discoloration or a lightness, or give us any evidence of how young it is or any winemaking that might have been used. And also, you're seeing a bit of condensation on there. That's going to show us that the wine is chilled. Telling that story of wine before we get anywhere near our nose or our mouth. Give it a little swirly swirl like this. As Baz and I are using proper tasting glasses.
Hello.
And why are we using proper tasting glasses, Baz?
To really get under the skin.
No, it's because we don't have enough normal glasses.
Okay.
That's why.
I'm just going to try and sugarcoat that. Yeah.
But when you give it a little swirly swirl, and we're looking through, it's the only time we look through the wine because that's just going to show us the big studio lights. Give it a little swirl. We're looking to see the legs as they form. Baz, super quick. Tell us what the legs are. Tell us what people think they are, and tell us what they actually show.
Well, the legs is how the wine adheres to the inside of the glass, and particularly the rivulets that start forming, and how quick they descend back into the pool of wine. There's 2 things that manipulate that. Lots of people think that it's a sign of quality. Oh, look at the legs.
Look at the legs on that one.
It's a great wine. Not really how it works, though. 2 things have. Well, maybe
apart from you and me. You're not wearing shorts today.
That's because it was raining sideways this morning. Alcohol by volume makes the liquid denser, which means that will make those rivulets a lot thicker and denser. Same with sugar content. The more sugar in the wine, the more syrupy it is, and it does the same thing. Sometimes grape variety can come into play here as well with the forming of these legs.
Yeah, definitely. Alcohol by volume and residual sugar content. That's what legs mean. They don't mean your wine is good or bad, but they do start to tell the story. And basically the stickiness and syrupiness of the wine is what we're talking about here. We move on to nose in the wine. It's probably where the most of the hard work is done, most of the heavy lifting. If you just have a cold or like Ben upstairs, hey Ben. He said hello back. You can't hear him, but that's because we have a perfectly soundproofed studio here. It is professional in every way, shape, or form. But if, like Ben, you're recovering from COVID, you might have lost that sense of smell, so you won't be tasting a very great deal. Your nose does a huge amount of work. There is a technique in how to nose properly. Give it a little swirl. If you're a wine pro like Baz, if you're a wine spaz like me, flat surface like that. Can you say spaz? Anyway, shouldn't have brought up again. Should have just kept going. Should have just glossed over it.
I'm sure this video will get deleted off YouTube.
We're going to get demonetized, guys. We're definitely getting demonetized off this one. Well, mate, tell you what, you live on the edge, mate. You got to push the boundaries. That's what comedy is about, mate. It's about pushing boundaries, isn't it? It's about trying to get away with saying the N word. That's what comedy is about, according to everybody on YouTube.
Okay.
Enjoy that. But you give that little swell and then hold it up underneath your nose. Breathe evenly and normally through your nose, obviously. It sounds like an obvious thing to say, but considering how much wine you got. Hello, the Mabsies. Thanks very much for joining us on Zoom. The Mabs has joined us. Unfortunately, our supplier ballsed up, and so therefore they are without wine, but still wanted to join, which lets you know exactly how charismatic and hilarious we are, that they still want to join even though they haven't got the wine. Either that or it's some kind of Stockholm syndrome. They're just like, we don't know what to do on a fucking Friday. Oh, let's go hang out with those 2 baldy bastards. At least one of us is proud enough to just, oh, God, you kept it on. Yeah, you kept it. Right. Breathe evenly and normally through your nose. Take it away and bring it back again. You smell different things every single time you do that. If you just hold it underneath your nose, you stop smelling anything very quickly. For those of you that are used to this analogy, apologies for those of you that are brand new to it. Tough. Well done. It's why when you put on too much aftershave or perfume and you arrive at the office, everybody else is going, their eyes are watering, but you think it's fine. It's because you drove to the office and you've got completely used to that smell. Your caveman/cavewoman brain is no longer looking out for new aromas. That aroma is there. It's fixed It's not going to do you any harm. It's not going to provide you anything useful. It's delete, not important. So you hold it underneath your nose, your wine will smell a lot, and not very much, and then have nothing. Because your brain is going, oh, is there a saber-toothed tiger that's going to go and get me? Or is there something that I can, I don't see nothing wrong. Exactly. All right. So take it away and bring it back again every single time. And then just kind of go with your gut, right? There's no such thing as a wrong answer. As we say every time, there are stupid answers. And if you say it smells like wine, you're out of there. But there's no such thing as a wrong answer. Kind of go with your gut. You don't need to be too flowery unless you're feeling flowery. You can just be dead simple, but try and root it in something and then add layers to it, right?
Absolutely. Use your first instinct. They're usually the right ones. And once you establish that it's perhaps smelling of grapefruit, what part of the grapefruit would it be? Would it be the skin, the pith, the juice, the flesh, or maybe something made from grapefruit, like a grapefruit? What's the stuff called again? Curd. Grapefruit curd.
Grapefruit curd.
I don't know.
All of them grapefruit curds that you see all over the place.
You're crazy English, you know.
I'll tell you what this toast is missing: some grapefruit curds.
There you go.
Somebody's now going to turn around and say that they are grapefruit curd is a mainstay of their fucking diet.
Yeah.
And I'm going to call bullshit. You're a liar. You're lying to us. You're lying to everybody else on this Grape to Grain live YouTube extravaganza. Make sure you smash that like and subscribe button.
What is a curd? Is it a jam? I don't care.
I don't give a shit. But yeah, we can delve into it. The lemon is the perfect example because there are so many millions of things made from lemon. There's lemon juice, there's the lemon zest, there's lemon meringue pie, there's lemon curd. There is a lemon curd.
There's grapefruit
lemon
sherbet,
right? All sorts of stuff going on there. So just kind of add layers to it, and you'll find that you'll be sounding like a wine wank in moments. Don't worry about it. You'll be all good.
Sometimes it's difficult to put into words. That's why we always talk in amongst each other.
Exactly.
When someone is saying, "Oh well, it's familiar, but I can't really pinpoint what that aroma is," and then I go grapefruit curd. It's like I know what that is.
Nobody knows what grapefruit curd is. Nobody in the history of time.
Well, then you start looking for it, and chances are you're going to find it. There you go, grapefruit curd. It's a new thing.
Right. I mean, we have to capitalize this. When this goes viral on Grape to Grain Live YouTube, make sure you smash like and subscribe. Right. When this goes viral, we are releasing a G2G grapefruit curd, mate. And we're going to make millions.
I can't wait.
Then finally, we can go on Grape to Grain on tour and we can take all of you motherfuckers away on holiday. But we've made our fortunes with grapefruit curd. There's a gap in the market, mate. We're doing it.
You're welcome. You're welcome.
Once you have nose, we don't want to go over the tasting. It's the crescendo of the tasting. It's where the real action happens. Obviously, the real action happens on your tongue. But you must have gone through the nosing process to really appreciate what's going to be going on to your tongue. So there's a technique on how to do it. You can just go, skål, prost yoghurt.
You can do it like that. However,
if you're going to do that, make sure you don't pour it all the way down yourself.
Oh, well done.
Yeah, there we go. That's what we're going to clip. That's what's going to go on the G2G live tasting. Make sure you smash that like and subscribe button. Clips channel.
Oh,
we'll have a second channel just for clips.
Takeouts. The proper way to do this, though, it's pinky out. Scientifically proven that things taste nicer when you pinky out.
And you look sexier / cooler.
A little bit of the wine in your mouth, not your whole glass, like Tom just. But
actually, I didn't put the whole glass in my mouth.
Oh,
mate.
okay.
I put a load of it down there as well. So
put that wine onto your palate. Let it rest there for at least 5 seconds. Let it warm up to your body temperature. Does the same thing as that swirly effect does when you're nosing the wine. Then aerate the wine by sucking air through your mouth whilst the wine is on your palate. That might sound difficult, but I shall demonstrate.
We call it the invisible straw technique. Baz will do a little bit of ASMR, which will go to a different YouTube channel, which I personally would recommend you don't go to if there are anybody under the age of 18 in the room with you, because it's just going to be Baz in a pair of tight white underpants doing ASMR. Like,
okay. That sounds great.
That's what's really going to make. When you're wearing OnlyFans colours, is your account coming?
Yeah. It's at DutchBars.co.uk. Whatever. There's 3 stages to the tasting, though. Once you've had that wine in your mouth, once you've experienced it, there's 3 things that go into play with it. The first thing is the approach, Tom. The approach is the first thing you're going to be experiencing once the wine hits your palate. It's always likely going to be acidity.
If it's your first wine of the day,
no lie.
8, what the fuck is wrong with you? We've had 7 wines already, Baz and I, and we are in trouble. Okay, but if it's your first wine of the day, that acidity can be a little bit overwhelming. If that is the case, just kind of let your body do its job. Let your body relax, calm down. You'll find your mouth waters. This is your mouth producing
salada.
saliva.
From his saliva.
But is it produced? Is getting added something alkaline to balance out the acidity from the wine, right? Change that pH. Is it low pH is acid and high pH is alkaline? Guys at home, anybody remember?
Pull that shit up, Joel.
Thank you very much, Kaylee Owen.
Pull that shit up, Joel.
So it'll increase the pH in your mouth and therefore balance everything out. And then when you go back, you'll get loads more because it isn't just this bam of acidity whacking you right in the mouth. You're all of a sudden getting all the fruit notes and all that kind of stuff. So don't panic if your first thing is, oh, it's a bit sharp. That come back, try it again. You'll pick up a load more. After the approach, which is always acidity, red, white, rosé.
Quickly followed by residual sugar, if there is any.
Okay, you might also pick up a little bit of booze right up front as well. But then we move into the mid palate and the finish. What do they represent, Basil?
The mid palate is where the fruit components take center stage, and maybe some spices if we're talking about, right? The melange of flavor takes center stage there. And then the finish is, how does the wine act after you swallow it? Does it transmogrify into different flavor profiles? How long does it linger for?
I taught him that like maybe 20 months ago, and it's been his favorite word. He's just
second language, ladies and gents.
Using it in situations that completely doesn't require the you, or
don't care.
The way that doesn't even make sense.
Perpendicular.
Oh man, I completely transmogrified my car the other day right into a did you? Okay.
Combustible. Anyway, the finish. So the finish is, how does the wine act after you swallow it? How long does it linger for? How does it transmogrify to different flavor profiles? Woo. A long finish, though, is not always an indicator of a great quality in wine.
We've all been there, right? That glass
on a
of
Monday,
wine just
on a Monday, you've had a tough day. You go to the finest bargain booth, you pick up a great bottle of Barret Foot.
Barret Foot.
Barret Foot.
Barret Foot. It's the finest of the ware.
When you then taste that, you taste it for the rest of the week. That ain't a great thing. However, some of the finest wines that I've tasted in my career, and believe you me, I've tried some good stuff. That finish creates the legacy of the wine, and when it's layered and there's constantly different things whispering at you, it can be a beautiful thing.
Absolutely. As we've said 100,000 times on this, it's not a sign of quality, a lingering finish, but some of the best wines do have it. Some of the best wines are designed not to have it. So it isn't necessarily a sign, it isn't necessarily something to be afraid of. There's a fly in the studio. This is a nightmare. It's a nightmare.
Breach.
That'll be on the clips.
There's a breach.
Some wines, we have a tasting coming up. I think at the start of August, it's Albarino week. So we'll be having an Albarino tasting. The next live tasting will be Albarino one. Nice. With some, I think some northern Spanish pinchos or some small plates or something like that. Those wines are designed to have a short finish because they're designed to be drunk somewhere where it's really hot and you want to and then have another one and have a slip, all that kind of stuff. So not a sign of quality, but is definitely something to look out for. Cheese, room temperature, eat it once you've experienced the finish because it will affect the wine. The cheese will affect the wine, or as much as it will affect your palate's ability to perceive the wine. Therefore, just be careful the experience to finish before you move on to the cheese, because otherwise it might completely change it. You never know what it was originally. Right, gosh, let's go. Before we get into the tasting proper, what we're going to do, guys, is I'm going to play you a short video. It is about 3.5 minutes long, and it is the best intro that we could find in any way. It's from the Planeta website itself. I hope this translates. We've done this before, so it should be fine. Planeta, they make wine all over Sicily, but their main two bases are Marconi,
yes,
which is on Etna.
No, Ulmo.
That's Ulmo as well.
Yeah, 2 vineyards right there.
That's the single vineyards, right? So the Marconi is the name of their Syrah, but they've got vines on Etna.
They have got vines on Etna. 4 different vineyards.
They've got two main wineries, but they've got vineyards all over the place. Do they own all their vineyards?
I do indeed.
Right. Okay. Without wishing to completely undermine Baz here, I will come on to that later on, but here is a little intro to Planeta. just really makes you want to head over there. I mean,
Seriously,
early in that video, you see the Ulmo winery. I've got some pictures from my trip there as well.
Did you?
Which is because I have been there. But
Okay.
yes, I have.
All
I
right.
have 100% been there.
Never really mentioned it.
never bring it up whatsoever. But I mean, where does Planeta sit in the pantheon of Italian winemakers? Because they did genuinely change the game with their Chardonnay. They're the biggest producer on the island from memory.
That's right.
Certainly of quality wine. They produce.
I was just going to say of quality wine. Yeah.
But Sicily was blighted for centuries and centuries of being. Well, Sicily's where Marsala comes from, which is Marsala is a region to the far western tip of Sicily. I'll show you a map in a second. Sicily blighted by that sweetened wine, then becoming completely synonymous with that island's wine production. So much so that was all anybody thought you could make there. That and table wine, or wine that was so over extracted and hyper ripe that only sort of peasants would enjoy it, but was still secretly shipped north into the regions like Veneto and Piedmont to flesh out thin, astringent northern Italian wines.
Even as far as Bordeaux.
Holy shit, I have no idea about that, really.
The French will never admit to it. But yeah. No, yeah, absolutely right. Sicily is known for was known for its Marsala production and pretty poorly made bulk wine or table wine, which, like you said, made its way all the way up north to flesh out any sort of like areas that would struggle to get ripeness in their fruit. And it was Diego Planeta who was pretty much the one who saw its potential in its terroir to start planting international varieties. So nothing that was actually indigenous to the island. So we know grape varieties like Griot, like Fiano, Frappato, Nero d'Avola, when we're talking about red wines, they're all indigenous to the island and have made it to pockets across the globe. But international varieties like Chardonnay, like Cabernet Sauvignon, like Merlot, they just didn't grow there. And it was Diego who really saw the potential of the terroir, saying, hey, look, we can actually start making some quality wines that can maybe rival some of the greatest Chardonnays around the globe.
Isn't it funny, the kind of the sort of the snobbery that comes on? And it's sometimes why wine can be seen as quite exclusive in the negative sense of that word. The snobbery that means that unless it's an international varietal that is grown there, that it is somehow inferior peasanty table wine.
And they call it noble varieties.
The noble varieties, which are all fucking French, by the way. Worth pointing that out, right? But you know, it was the same with Soave. Soave made with Garganega, and until the Pierrepin family decided, hey, look, what we can do with this Garganega. Everyone was like, Soave, it's the cheapest / second cheapest wine on the list. You know, you just get it in bulk and it's crap. You know, but Planeta did change the game. Now I'm conscious of the fact that for those of you that aren't watching on the Grape Live YouTube channel, make sure you smash that like and subscribe button. We're now 40 minutes into the fucking tasting, and we haven't done an actual tasting yet. So without further ado, well, Kaylee has. She's absolutely half cut. She can't even see straight. She's like, I'm enjoying the wine. She's not even drinking Planeta. She's just drinking. Well, whatever. It's going to be good. It's going to be good. Kaylee doesn't have pish in the house. So let's go with wine number one. This is the Tenevinto Grillo. This was the very first wine we ever did on a live tasting. Do you remember?
No, I do not. That's about 400 tastings ago, Tom.
The very first live tasting we did was this.
Serious.
Something else.
Los Intocables.
Los Intocables.
I remember Los Intocables.
Yeah,
like, why are we doing this?
Because it's mental, lurid kind of like neon. This is like the. You know what this color is? It's the Borat Mankini color. Right? That kind of like crazy green. So if you're seeing this color, you must think of really cupped balls in a neon thing that comes over like that. The Borat Mankini color. Anyway, that's just
right. So you've ruined this wine for me.
That's what goes through my head. But this is the Grillo.
A little look in Tom's brain, everybody. There you go.
I like King of the Castle. I've got the chair. This is Grillo. Now, Grillo is not a naturally occurring grape, right? It's a hybrid.
Correct. It's something that got crossed way back with Zibibo and Catarratto.
Zibibo is the grape they use in the Passito de Pantelleria.
Correct. The Benrie.
The Benrie. Zibibo is there's a little island just off the southwest of Sicily called Pantelleria. And they make this incredible dessert wine. Anybody remember doing the Benrie with that? The other wine was JJ Hahn Merlot, says Lale. OG!
Yes, Lale.
Yeah, she remembers. Do you have a picture of that, or is it just a weird kind of like ADHD sort of autistic memory? They're like, JJ Hard.
I have a picture, but I did remember the Planeta one.
Yeah, right.
Yeah,
Well done,
there
well
we
done.
go. Fantastic.
Did you know that
In the way back?
Did you know that emotion? Did you know that Zibibo is also known as Muscat di Alexandria, so Moscato? Or yeah, mate, absolutely. What's up?
Hello.
So you're going to get compounds from both those grape varieties, and I'd like to.
Sorry, Zibibo and Catarato.
And Catarato, yeah. So a white grape variety that you find relatively often on the slopes of Mount Etna, but it's almost like idiosyncratic to Sicilian viticulture.
Yeah.
The main white grape varieties.
We've got quite a few relatively popular ones.
I love
with the Fabrizio Vella.
What
was the sort of the super socky one that Dom's crazy about?
It's the Rallo, you mean?
No,
it's made by the Donofregata family. Very, very good as well. It's an orange wine.
There's another one.
I don't know, mate.
It looks cool.
Catarato is delicious. Anyway, yeah, very, very floral, very textured, and that's.
So what does the Zibibo grape? Because I've only ever tried Zibibo when it's been pasito, so super ultra dried, single drop of nectar kind of vibe from a raisin.
It gives it relative floral compounds in the wine. It gives it a lovely bouquet of florality.
Okay. Super aromatic.
Also, what Zibibo can often give is actual notes of grape. So Muscat is the only grape variety that actually smells of grapes. However, since this is a hybrid of the two, that's not something that you find in Grillo. Grillo will have the texture of the Catarato, but the florality of a Zibibo, which I find fascinating.
Right, really, without further ado, let's get cracking with this first one. So here we go. The Pedimento Grillo by Planeta. Where is this grown? Is this Menfi?
This is Menfi, yeah.
Right. So clear pale lemon.
Very, very pale, in fact. It reminds me a little bit of a Sauvignon Blanc. It's almost translucent.
Yeah, really, really nice. Sort of a fleck of olive green hue through it, but really kind of understated and gentle. So we are looking at, I'm not going to trust the menu, but I'm going to go with it's 13%, relatively high for a white wine.
It is, and we're obviously in Sicily here. It's nice and warm throughout the growing season. It gets up to like, well, I think during the harvest time it's about 35.5 degrees centigrade, which is quite warm, you know. So you're going to get,
I don't know, not as warm as Manchester.
Well, hey, well, you're going to get some nice ripeness in the fruit.
But yeah.
Well, yes, it's actually.
We have it for 2 days. They have it for 8 months.
Does it say 13 and a half?
13.
Okay, no, that is right. It's 13%, which is relatively towards the higher side for a white wine. You know, the white wines can sometimes reach alcohol levels of about 15% when we're talking really hot climate, Californian Chardonnays, for instance.
No bullshit.
I think alcohol can sometimes be really jarring and interfering when it comes to white wines. For me, I like wines that are relatively light and easy drinking. But for me, texture is really important, and that's something that Grillo usually provides. Shall we have a little nose?
Have a little nose immediately. It's got that lovely sort of flinty sort of, but it's a really precise, really kind of like scalpel sharp kind of aroma. It's not a sort of flabby wine that kind of like falls around all over the place. It's really kind of like laser pointer.
I get a plethora of aromas. I get florality, I get white flower, I get Mediterranean herb, I get pink grapefruit, I get confectionery notes.
In curd form or just
not
natural form?
The thing is why I said grapefruit curd is because I was smelling this one. It's like, I smell grapefruit. like pink grapefruit, particularly the zest. It's quite zesty, and that then ties in quite nicely to like a sherbet, you know, like a sherbet, not an orange sherbet, but maybe a lemon sherbet. Or like in Holland, we have got these car sweets. They're called citroenbommen, little lemon bombs, and they're filled with this really sour sherbet. Takes me back.
Every time I hear it, it's just you heard English, like you're like, well, let's make English like.
No, you guys heard Dutch. No, you guys heard Dutch.
Citroenbommen.
But yeah, there is. It's not particularly like one-dimensional. There's lots of little things going on, which makes this wine really intriguing. And for the money, this is $20, £18 if you pre-order tonight. We'll get the wines out to you next week. Is there a discount code?
No, it's already included on there. So there we go.
Okay.
Yeah.
Anything else you want to add?
Well, without wishing to sound like a basic bitch, it's bright and energetic. It's vivacious and slightly frivolous. It's kind of it doesn't seem like a sort of a staid and sort of boring wine. It's got a little bit of pep about it.
Can I give you something else? And I don't know if anyone else can pick this up. I don't know if I'm right. I'm actually smelling this. I can smell salinity. So I can smell a bit of sea spray. You know, when you've been to the beach and, you know, like seawater sort of dries up on your skin, it's got a certain aroma. That's something that You know, I'm just painting.
You're thinking about your holiday in 2 weeks, aren't you?
Just painting the picture for you guys. But yeah, there's sort of like a hint that Albania can sometimes have as well, sort of like a little bit of a saltiness there. Let's see if it reflects on the palate. Cheers. Cheers, everybody. Wine number one.
Sean and Dunk.
Hello.
Bringing the noise immediately. Fresh pineapple, and I've got to say, slightly underripe pineapple / pineapple squashy sweets with that tangy coating. I'll go with that. I'll go with that all day.
Pineapple curd. I can.
Fuck your curd.
The first thing is the mouthfeel, the texture. It almost has that Viognier / Chenin Blanc kind of vibe that it sort of coats.
Good on you, Sean. Good on you. You know what you've done.
What's this?
Straight on that Albania tasting.
Oh, thanks, Sean. Cheers. We didn't want to get that one nice and full, huh? That's going to be a brilliant one.
Yeah, and then the one in mid-September as well. The return of Ken
Forrester. What's up, anyway? Yeah. So yeah, super textured. The approach is lively acidity, but I would say it almost is reminiscent of a sweet citrus. I wouldn't go as far as an orange, but maybe like a underripe tangerine or something. There's like still a bit of zippy acidity, but there's also a bit of orange blossom there. I get notes of peach and apricot as well down the mid palate, some sort of tropical flavor profile. I'd like to go with that pineapple. I'd like to echo that. Lovely. Salinity, I get it on the palate as well. Well, what are you guys getting home apart from pineapple? Is there anything else you want to highlight?
Sean's getting the hump because she obviously booked that for Dunk as a surprise, and I just outed it in front of everybody, and most importantly, Dunk. So
well done, Tom.
Dunk didn't know that. He does now. Yeah, he does.
Well done, Tom.
Apologies. Awkward.
Yeah.
Just I'll refund it, and then you can book it again. So, oh shit, never mind. Moving on. So a little bit of screen sharing for you. We're going to go relatively light on the old screen sharing this time around for each wine because there isn't really, obviously, a huge amount of variety going on here. We are in Sicily, down in the bottom of Italy. Shout out to Wine Folly, since we're now on our Grape Live YouTube channel. Make sure you smash that like and subscribe button.
Give them a follow as well because
at Wine Folly, brilliant resource.
Madeline Bouquet, who is the proprietor, she does some really good content as well. If you follow her on Instagram, little bits of sort of like blind tasting, giving you sort of like ideas of what the variety might be, and then you click on the link for the clicks, and then you eventually you'll know what the wine is. But it's it's a good channel, and there's some really good information there.
There's really a useful positioning of the scale here. Sicily, 200 miles across, and
it's nearly just as big as Nederland.
Okay, the best country in the Low Countries
in Holland.
But this is the Sicily's blessing and curse, as you mentioned. It's kind of what Sicily was known for. The Roman galleons would be fighting all the pirates in the sort of around the Levant down here and Greece and all that. They would not necessarily leave from Rome, but they'd leave from around the Bay of Naples, and they would round Sicily, picking up a load of wine that was sweetened and slightly fortified, so that it would last on board ship, and then head over here to go and kick shit out of various people, slavers and pirates and all that kind of stuff. But it then became the only thing that they were known for. But there is the Marsala region down here. Down here, this is Vittoria, which I'll move on to the next slide because that shows it better. We've got Vittoria down here around the town of Avola and Siracusa. Ragusa is just there. Ragusa's got something like 5 Michelin-starred restaurants in this one tiny little village. You got up here is Etna, just up there around the mountain. Obviously all down this side, because down this side there's another mountain range up there, so there's no grapes growing there. It's too high, and it's all kind of like pine forests. There's something up here around Messina, and this is Marsala down here, and was it Delia Nivolelli around there. Memphis about there-ish, just south of Palermo. That's where their main wineries are. Ulmo, that's their kind of their home ranch, as you refer to it. The Agrigento, the Valley of the Temples, I think, is there. Lots of variety there. Lots of stuff going on. Lots of different chill. So there you go.
Awesome. Awesome.
Tell us more about this wine.
So it's called Terabinto, which is actually named after a leafy shrub with shiny leaves. It's actually on the bottle, Tom. Look, it looks like that.
Look at that leafy shrub with shiny leaves.
Which is associated with Sicily and particularly the Mediterranean.
I want to get a little bit drunk. Can we get a little bit drunk with this? Because it's been a hell of a fucking week, mate.
Yeah, I'm not going to say no to that. There you go. Would you like some more than love?
Pour yourself first.
No, it's fine, mate. There you go. Yeah, you thought that was going to go over, didn't you?
Cheers, everybody. Especially to obviously Liz and Paulie went with the carafe option, which of course is the correct option in every way, shape, and form.
The full bottle option is the correct option, but hey, I'll leave that out. Single varietal Griot. We already spoke about that. It's a hybrid. This is about 75 meters elevation, so altitude comes a little bit into play, but not too much.
How high?
75 meters. So, and that's bigger than anything in Holland because the Valsenberg is only 45 meters high.
In Holland, we don't have positive
we go down.
We have negative meters. So we don't go 2 meters up, but we go 24 meters down, and we have dikes everywhere with boys with fingers in the dikes all over the place. And
it's one boy. Anyway, but many fingers.
Many fingers in multi dikes.
Yeah, beautiful, proper Sicilian white wine. If I think of Sicilian white wine, I usually think of a Griot, Fiano, or Catarratto. This is kind of the vibe that I would be expecting from a native grape variety that comes from the island.
The thing that we found that with Puglia, with Basilicata, with Calabria, with Campania, the reds are deep and rich and heavy, sometimes over extracted, but always kind of like velvety and powerful. And the only reason why Sicily can produce more refined and elegant reds is because of the altitude, 800 meters or something, when you start going up Etna. But the whites are always crisp. They're always fresh, but because they're so fast, because you don't want to be drinking a really cloying white wine when it's super hot. You want to be drinking something refreshing, right? But because it's so far south, you get the refrescamente, but you also get texture. It's like the perfect hybrid for exactly that that climate.
Lots of prevailing winds as well, huh?
Loads of
from all sides of an island.
Stuck out in the middle of the Mediterranean, just getting blown to bits. It's incredibly on that Pantelleria when they're harvesting the Zabibo, when they're growing the Zabibo, they have to grow them. They do it on the island of Santorini as well, right? They grow the vines so that they train them so that they go around and around, almost like a bird's nest. And then they build like little rock walls around the things because the wind's so strong, it would blow the grapes off the vines. So those, whilst that is out in the middle of the ocean, Sicily are a bit more kind of like protection, but there are still those winds whistling across there more so than almost anywhere else in Italy.
Oh, I was just going to drink. Yes, indeed. So yeah, that sort of nest training is something that you find with Assertico quite a lot in Santorini, but yeah, in Pantelleria, particularly, is actually closer to Tunisia, isn't it, than it is to the rest of Sicily. But yeah, that Ben Rie is a wine from Donna Fugata where they hand turn every single grape to sort of worship the sun god, and it evaporates all the water content in the fruit, and you're left with this. Oh man, I know that's.
We're talking Planeta, not
well, but I know that someone in the room tried a Ben Rie before. Cheers to that. I want a glass of that right now. A little bit of winemaking as well, and pretty much with everything that I've studied about Planeta is that they always destem all the fruit. So what happens when the clusters come into the winery, they take all the berries off the stalks, because the stalks, they will allow to give the wine secondary and tertiary flavor profiles that sometimes are not desired, that might sometimes overtake. You get like green tea notes, you get leafy notes, think tomato leaf, tomato stalk, those kind of flavor profiles. They are avoided because they really want to sort of focus on the fruit purity of the actual grape variety itself. So you see that throughout all the wines today, and most of the wines I've actually studied.
It's funny that you say that, because there will be some pictures that you would have seen on that little video, little images of La Foresteria, which I would love to take you guys to on a Grape Going on tour.
One day
perhaps. But I did manage to go there, and when you go to that hotel, which is owned by Planeta, there's the incredible restaurants. You can do cooking classes and all the rest of it, but there's incredible restaurants, and they refuse to use any garlic.
Why is that?
Which because garlic and overuse of garlic takes away from your ability to taste wine.
Now, so when I did champagne dinners where they literally pair the wine to the food rather than the other way around. So I was like, it's about the wine.
Exactly.
That's
Which
good.
makes sense because they're incredible winemakers and olive oil makers. Some brilliant single varieties.
We sell them in store.
But I there's a nice synergy there between their winemaking and then the cooking that they have on site at La Foresteria. Namely, it's purity. We don't want anything that's going to cloud. I mean, it's worth pointing out as well, Italian food without garlic, on the surface of it, sounds like the worst thing. Like you're taking away, like, I'm doing like Italian shit right now. You can't, you're like, one clove of garlic isn't enough to cook a clove of garlic. You need lots of garlic. But there's a synergy and a kind of like a synergy is the right word, between how they make their wine. Don't take out the stems, destem everything, get it out of there. You don't want that to be clouding the purity of the wine, and the fact that they also don't want garlic to cloud the purity of the rest of the food, which, by the way, was outstanding. The best pasta I've ever had in my entire life. Like, because it was like, you know, when they talk about al dente, that's exactly what like. Right. It's just immaculate. So there's a nice kind of like parallel there.
Yeah, well, it makes sense when it comes to winemaking, to sort of like, you know, there's a meticulousness when they handle their raw material, which I think is a beautiful thing. When they then go into pressing, it's a soft press as well, so they only use the best juices. There's not really sort of like any aggression going into getting the last drop out of that, because that goes into a wine that sits underneath here, which is the Sagretto.
Yeah.
Do you know that one? Yeah. Which is still fantastic. But after that is finished, it goes into stainless steel at a low temperature. So for white wines, around 15 degrees is about normal, because you don't want to overcook it, because it start pulling out flavors that are undesirable. Once that is then finished, they will keep the wine remaining in stainless steel, so there's no oak seasoning here whatsoever. So they completely stay away from that.
Yeah, you don't want anything to kind of get involved with that, unlike the next wine.
Unlike the next, all the wines next, they're all seen oak, but this one, it's about purity of the actual varietal, which I think is a great thing. There is lees aging involved, because sometimes this variety can sometimes be a little bit aggressive on the acidity. So that lees aging, what that means is, after the wine is finished fermenting, the yeast will die, turn into sediment, like in bottle conditioned beer, and that will soften the wine out by leaving the liquid on that lees deposit. It will just round it off and give some other little bits of notes, give the wine texture, and they do that for about 6 months.
I thought originally when you first started teaching me about wine, which you have done a huge amount. You and Jen, but particularly you, because we're on these sort of week in, week out. I thought originally lees aging was about giving aroma or about giving flavor. I honestly think that is entirely secondary, and in some cases amazing, but in some cases not necessary to the texture.
Texture
is the main thing that it's basically
round in the wine.
Yeah, you're basically leaving it in contact with something which is like, it's like sort of
mellows out.
It's like really fine sandpaper.
Like polishing.
Yeah, exactly.
Polishing the wine out.
It's like you leave it like you got coarse sandpaper, which is like leaving it in a barrel, right? Which can sometimes go too far, and can be quite abrasive. You've got skin contact, which is like the next layer, you know, whatever. Maybe invert that. So skin contact, loads of skin contact is really abrasive. Then barrel aging is less, depending on what kind of wood you use. But lees aging is like that fine polishing finish, that final grade of sandpaper that just ends up just gleaming like a glass ball, as opposed to the thing it was previously. That's what lees aging does. It just kind of gentles everything. It just makes it all just silken and delicious.
After the fermentation, obviously, it goes from grape juice to wine. That's an incredible transformation of the actual liquid. It needs to rest out, and whilst leaving it on that lees, you polish any sort of like impurities almost out of it. Yeah, it's a really nice analogy. That's a new one, actually. You saw it here first on the Grape channel.
If anybody that was on the last tasting, the only other video that's currently on our Grape Live YouTube channel, make sure you smash that like and subscribe button. We were a little bit underwhelming, I thought, our performance.
I don't know. I didn't watch it back like I normally do.
I thought we could have been better, but I feel like we're fucking smashing it out of the park on this one today, ladies and gents. This is, you don't know how good you got it. Guess what cheese we're starting with. We've gone out of our way to go for a brand new, oh no, it's the Bouche de Chèvre goat's cheese, like we do on every fucking tasting.
I forgot to leave myself some wine. What a shame. But yeah, this is a really young goat's cheese, not too goaty, for the lack of better explanation for it. You know that's got a certain flavor profile. Yeah, please pour it. Really creamy, really salty, lovely acidity to it as well. I think We just put it in because we know that everybody will say, "Oh, can you please give us some of that ghost cheese?" Because it's just such a lovely cheese. When you do put it in your mouth, that you can't speak for the next 5 minutes because of the amount of creaminess.
We'll leave that for later on because this wine deserves to be going into a fresh palate, as it was. This wine is the Chardonnay, the wine by Planeta. We feel there are more expensive wines that they produce.
It's around £40, which I think for this kind of quality Chardonnay is not overly expensive.
This is one that we come back to again and again and again because not only is it an outstanding wine, right? That is outstanding old world Chardonnay, but it's also a genuine game changer. If you guys remember the Judgment of Paris, 1972 or 1976? 1976, Stephen Spurrier, RIP, snuck in some Yank Chardonnay and some Yank Cabernet into the Judgment of Paris, blind tasting, and blew everybody's mind because they all decided that this Stag's Leap District, SLV, by Stag's Leap Vineyards, that Cabernet was the best Cabernet in the world, and all of the Frenchies lost their fucking mind.
When it was revealed that it was actually an American one, because they all thought they were drinking first class waters.
Like, this is the most funnest Bordeaux you're trying your life. And one particularly obnoxious French woman who was a wine writer and an author demanded her paper back because she had been scammed. That's the point of a blind tasting, Mother Hubbard. Anyway, that was repeated in not quite as audacious and sort of mendacious terms, but basically Planeta Chardonnay turned up to one of these kind of, wasn't a Judgment of Paris, but turned up to one of these awards and won.
Particularly in the US, actually. Yeah.
Won the award as being the best Chardonnay that was on display that year. Prior to that, as we've mentioned, Sicilian wine is dross, is table wine, is crap. All of a sudden, the Chardonnay comes along, and the way that they've treated it, the excellence that is on display here, all of a sudden made everybody reassess. Sicily isn't just the land of over-extracted or sweet wines. It isn't just the land of table wines. It isn't just the land of stuff that you're slightly ashamed of and you pour it into your stuff to make it a little bit thicker. This is genuinely a wine that changed the world of wine because this changed the wine world's perception of Sicily as a wine producing region. Some brilliant tasting notes coming through already. Charlotte, that's absolutely outstanding. We'll come on to that later. But let's have a little nose. This is the Planeta Chardonnay from Menfi, the Olmo winery in Sicily. This is the 2020. And one thing which was proved over the last couple of years, white wines in 2020 in Europe are outstanding. One of the best, no matter where it seemed to be that we were picking that wine to come from. European wines in 2020, when everyone was shut down, there were less particulates in the air, less air travel, less this, less that. A long hot summer, brilliant ripening,
spring as well.
Outrageous vintage across almost everywhere. So let's have a go at this outstanding Chardonnay.
So just by looking at it, there's immediately
Sean, you could not be more right.
Lots more.
That is incredible.
Lots more color on it. There is still a translucent halo on the outside, which tells me that this wine is relatively young, which is correct. For me, this always sort of reminds me of olive oil. It looks like olive oil in the glass.
Chardonnay is in its natural form is probably about as light as that Grape that we just had first up. But because of the winemaking that's happened to this, it's just been replaced by this kind of incredible honeyed, luxuriant and luxurious amber colors. Sean says foam bananas slightly barbecued, which is brilliant. Liz import apples caramelized in butter.
Lovely. Look at the legs.
I'm getting some kind of nuttiness to it as well. Some kind of like little sort of.
Where do you reckon that comes from? Not to put you on the spot.
Guessing it's probably because it's been barrel aged, and therefore there's a little bit of oxidization going on.
Absolutely right. Yeah. Just test and see if anything that I teach him is actually sticking. Yeah. So
toffee is a great tasting note for this one. Fucking hell, this wine is outrageous.
I still get like a savory Mediterranean herb kind of sort of thread through this wine.
I'm struggling to get herbs. I'm getting some fruit, but I'm getting loads of tertiary flavour going on here that comes from the winemaking. Kaylee and Clive, bit of pear drop, yeah.
There's like a real nice spice that comes from the wood age, and it's been aged on barrique, so 225-liter casks.
Are they big?
French. 225 liters is relatively large, but you can go larger with puncheons, and then you got botta or botti, they say, and then foudre. So these are like 1,000-liter casks, but this is
small enough to have enough.
small enough to have enough interaction with the woods to really sort of like rub off on the
salted.
Someone say banana.
Yeah,
banana.
But
like
foam banana sweeties is what Sean's saying. That have been slightly barbecued. I'm getting
barbecued foam banana
salted
sweeties.
caramel dulce de leche.
Woo-wee. Hello. Lots going on with this one. Lots going on. Yeah.
Sean says, I've never, Sean or Dunk, I've never had this. It tastes amazing. Aftertaste of Wrigley's juicy fruit chewing gum in the best possible way.
Love it.
I imagine if we gave any of these tasting notes to the Italian who made this, they'd be like, what the fuck are you talking about?
They'll be going, bravo.
I don't know what they're talking. What do they say to me? Yeah? Juicy fruit. Juicy fruit. What means Cavalier? Oh, Massimo's back in town next weekend.
Let's go.
That means nothing to anybody apart from me and Baz. Felicissimo. If you're watching at home, Massimo.
So yeah, of course it is. But yeah, this is this is a spectacular wine. For me, this almost rivals some sort of the Grape.
I was going to say, because there is I tell you what, there's a little bit of Bogle Shardy. A little bit of Bogle Shardy.
More finesse, I think, you know.
Not as shouty, but a little bit of that kind of that.
I could bottle this and make it into a cologne.
You know where you got like a proper tart tartan that's been baked and it's not sort of hot anymore. It's cooled, and so the caramelized sugar on top that leached out of the apple, right?
Ooh.
Has now solidified, and you just go, and you reheat it, right? So it gets a little bit crisp. Right?
Oh, okay.
And then some vanilla pod ice cream on the top of it, like that. It just starts to dribble down.
Can we taste? Can we taste it now?
Fucking let's go.
Cheers, everybody. Enjoy this. Super special. Changing the whole appeal of Sicily. Wow. That's gonna go on the blooper channel and then all over his laptop as well. Well done, mate. This is
fuck. Oh god, come on.
That's amazing. Can anyone get a screenshot of that? And have we lost everyone? Oh, we're still there. Oh my god. Oh, that's why we call him Butterfingers, ladies and gentlemen. You know, anyway, glass is way too dingy for his big hand.
I cannot afford this laptop to fucking break.
I'm actually more upset that you just spilled that beautiful wine all over your laptop. There's none left, you know.
There fucking is.
Oh, okay. Cheers, everybody. Let's have a little taste. Oh my god.
Clip that. Clip that. That'll be the clip.
Fuck. So, on the palate, it is actually a lot more.
These fucking pussy bastards.
On the palate, it's actually a lot richer than it is on the nose. For me, it is echoing that sort of tartan kind of vibe that you're really beautifully explained to me just now. That sort of toffee apple really resonates on the palate. It is lovely and voluptuously textured as well. There is this real richness, thickness to the wine, and that's got to do with the terroir, but also with the manipulation in the actual winery.
So tell us a little bit, because I've got some screen sharing from my visit to this winery.
Did you go?
I did go.
Okay.
Yeah, that was amazing.
Nuttiness on the finish as well.
Just to explain the terroir where this is grown, it's grown on the lake, on the shores of this big lake.
This is from their
fairly far inland, actually. La Foresteria, which is their hotel that I stayed at, looks at the ocean. It's overlooking the ocean, maybe about a K and a half from the ocean, straight shot. It was maybe a 45 minute drive inland, but we picked up a few other people, so I kind of got like my sense of direction got kind of lost. But when you get there, you then climb a little bit in altitude.
No, that's right, because it's 400 meters.
Yeah, so climb a fair amount. And then you drop down into, I guess, what might have been a caldera of a volcano at some point, because obviously Etna is an active volcano region, but there's a big lake in the middle of it, which is the reason, I guess, why you can grow Chardonnay with this refinement. Because if you didn't have that body of water, that cooling influence and the breezes that come along with, because what happens basically is when the sun hits water warms up really quickly, and then it cools really quickly. The land warms up slowly and then cools slowly. So that's why you get an onshore breeze in the morning. No, you get an offshore breeze in the morning because the water warms up quicker. Okay, I can't remember.
It's a good story, Tom.
But that's why surfing in the morning is really good, because the breeze holds the wave up, right? And then in the evening, it's less good because it knocks the wave down. But because of that, that means there's constant flow of air, constant flow of wind around this body of water inland that otherwise would have been really stagnant. Be careful, don't spill it all over your laptop. But if this laptop craps out, our business would cease to function. Everything.
I've got a laptop. I don't use it.
Really? Have you ever pulled it out? Anyway, right. Tell us more, because that terroir sells half the story, but it's what they've done with the wine that's what really sets it apart. Isn't it?
Well, there is some winemaking involved. How to manipulate the juice as soon as it arrives into the winery. This is worth pointing out. This is from the Maroccoli section of their Menfi estate, which is a 49-hectare vineyard where they grow these international varieties. The first planters were in 1995, and that was straight away when the first vintage was as well.
So there is they have a Syrah on our World Shiraz Day tasting on the 28th. Oh. It's the Planeta Maroccoli, and it's a Syrah. So okay. that is actually on that tasting.
Well, they also grow the Merlot, and then it's also where the Chardonnay comes from. So I'd like to think that that's why they identified that this is perfect area to really start growing these international varietals. So the soil, you mentioned that it's chalk and limestone over here, which is relatively reminiscent to Burgundy. Burgundy's got a similar kind of soil composition that you find over on this side of the island in Sicily, which means that it almost has that sort of Burgundian effect. And then when they treat it into the wine in the winery, so the fruit comes in, they harvest it into smaller crates, which means you don't start any crushing starting, which means that the berries are in pristine condition as soon as they arrive in the winery. But then it's again been.
It's also worth pointing out that the fields are there and the winery is there. It's like they are so close. It's not like you're harvesting and then having to transport it any distance at all. And when you
nice and close, yeah,
which does make a difference.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely. Again, the similar thing to the previous one. As soon as it enters the vineyard, the winery, they take the stalks off, and there's a soft press, and then there's a procedure which is static racking. What that means is that just literally leave the juice to settle by itself, which means that the solid matter sinks to the bottom without any fining. So fining agents, this is what can make wine non-vegan. Could be egg whites or fish guts or benzoline, which is a type of rock that they add to it to sort of congeal all the solid matter in the bottom of the tank, and then rack the clear juice off from the top. But by doing it statically, by slightly chilling the liquid, means that this is firstly more labor intensive, but it's also more pure because you're not adding anything to it. Plus also then this makes your wine still vegan. Once that has been done, this is all at low temperature. So throughout, it then gets racked into French barriques. So these are 225-litre casks of French wood, which gives us less of that sort of vanilla compounds that you might get from American oak. It's a little bit more subdued. It's less in your face, which means that makes this wine incredibly elegant with layers of flavor. That spends 10 months in that French oak, and it gets batonnage every 10 days. So they stir the leaves through every 10 days just to give it that richness, to give it that malolactic
from
appeal.
Memory, the Bogle Chardonnay
was that every day? Twice a day.
Week.
All right.
Twice a week.
Was it a week? Okay.
Yeah.
So every 10 days, once, slightly agitate the leaves to go through.
That's every 3 days. This is once every 10 days, and it's about.
It wouldn't surprise me if it was every day, twice or something like that. Because wow, what a big wine!
But that speaks to the fact that this wine is about as third as walloping. Well, this is more finesse, more restrained.
They're trying to put this against some of the finest Burgundies around there, and they're doing a pretty great job for about half of the price for some of them.
Yeah,
how much is it? 40 quid.
This is 44 from memory.
36 if you buy it tonight. I don't know how other people are going to do that. You figure it out.
Just drop us a message and we'll pre-order.
Your job. Amazing wine. And it's a real this should be in like how they've got the SLV in the American like what's it called the
Hall of Fame,
the Hall of Fame American Artifact
and it'd
History
be like,
Museum. But this is
1 year.
This is a similar thing. This should really be regarded as one of the most incredible wines of Sicily.
Without that, I mean, it is one of the best wines that's made in Sicily. It's also one of the best Chardonnays. I mean, pound for pound, it outstrips plenty that you
Big
could
talk.
No, but think about it. Like, pound for pound, it outstrips plenty that you would put it up against.
Yeah, absolutely.
And part of that is Planeta still or Sicily still lagging behind in terms of prestige worldwide. Part of it is maybe the French inflationary price tag. Part of it is
France is also struggling every year with frost and all that. So that
part of it might be the ease of getting hold of it, because by comparison they produce an awful lot of it compared to other wines. But it is absolutely outstanding. I've got some great screen sharing to follow on from what we've been talking about. You may recognize some of this from the video, and even though like some of these pictures are outrageous, taken by me and my iPhone.
It's actually on iPhone, not on your fancy camera that you don't use.
No.
Well, there you go.
All my wine.
So go back there. Look at the barrel. You see what's on there? There's cycles of the moon. So these guys are massively on their sustainable viticulture, which makes sense because the island is relatively isolated. So you get an awful lot of sustainable winemaking practices going in there. They've got a certification on each of the single bottles, which is.
They make an awful lot of olive oil as well, and Italy in general. You have olive trees next to citrus, next to vineyards. It's just what is everywhere, and those three things are the things that they do better than anywhere else in the world, in my personal opinion. So you're sat here on these kind of on these metal chairs. They do like a wine reception, and then a tour, and then like a barbecue later on as well, and loads of stuff. It's fucking outstanding. And the smell of these olive trees coming wafting over is absolutely outstanding. So this is these are the wines that we would taste on the thing. There's just kind of a red and a white, because it is the kind of the lower end of their production. The Alamander isn't. The Alamander.
It's a Moscato, eh? Planeta Rosé, we know and love.
That's a marketing shot.
Great shot.
I should send that to them. Apart from the neck of the bottle, because its portrait mode has disappeared.
What's that?
So these are like sort of things you put around your neck, and you had your tasting glass in there. So they gave you that when you arrived, and you had a tasting glass.
What? Amazing.
Very, very good. Very, very nice.
Beautiful.
More of the olive trees. We're getting some. Okay. So edgy.
Trez. Look at that sunlight sort of hitting through those little lovely shrubs and leaves.
And this is actually the wine we're going to taste last, because this.
Merlot.
I'll be honest with you. I don't know enough to know whether that's Merlot or whether that's Syrah, but it's one of the two, isn't it? That's the deal.
Let's just say it's Merlot. You have to look at the leaves to really see.
But it's all interwoven. These are so these slopes sloping down towards the lake. They get so much sun till late, and this is the destemmer. So they put all of their bunches in here. This corkscrew kind of turns and it destems everything.
Another one on the bottom that goes the other way. Yeah, takes the stems out. Big fermenters there, stainless steel.
Aqua, that was full of water. Primo passaggio, first pass.
So this is to clean the tank out.
Bianco Chardonnay.
Oh, is this the one that we're drinking
in?
This
is the Chardonnay. DSC Menfi 2019. Oh, we're drinking the 2020.
Fuck. Drinking one that's a little bit later than that. Yeah,
I wasn't there in 2020, unfortunately. Nobody was.
Amazing.
They were brand new kicks then. They don't look like that anymore. Still got them, but they don't look like that.
We've got them on now, yeah. No. Okay, great. Good story.
So Fiano, they make what Fianos do they do? Is it the Cometa?
The Cometa is the top end Fiano, which is retailing at about 40 plus. Which is sort of like their little show off. Look at what we can make with the humble Fiano. That's pomace.
So this is great pomace. So these are the crushed, dejuiced grapes, right?
Post fermentation as well. So this is usually they will either feed it to cattle, or they'll pay someone to come and remove it.
It was
Unless it's Amarone della Valpolicella, because then you want to reuse to make a
ripasso. It was aromatic. Let's put it that way.
I bet they had lots of beautiful scents on there. Look, the smaller crates, which is you know, with a quality winery, and to be honest, most of the tastings that we do, it's all done like that in smaller crates because the pressing doesn't really start yet, so the grapes are in pristine condition when they arrive in the winery. Beautiful pictures.
This is as night draws in, you then you get a little something. So I've got another little thing to share. Hopefully I can find it nice and quickly because it's a little video I took when I was there.
Is it Peggy 13? Is it?
PG 13.
Oh, Peggy.
Peggy.
What the same video is? I don't know. Whilst you're trying to find that, shall I talk to you actually a bit about the history of Planeta? Because I've done all this amazing research for it to just, we're just focusing on the wine here a little bit. So these guys are 17 generations of farmers over 5 centuries. These are guys that have been working the land in Sicily for agricultural purposes, not just viticulture. It's a former cooperative as well. So these guys started growing some grapes and they just sold it off to someone else who was making wine out of it. And went solo on the Diego Planeta. And Diego is really the sort of man who kind of came up with the concept of having European varieties.
Yes, you can, Sean.
Okay. So 1985 is where they did their first plans to say, hey, look, you know, why are we being part of this cooperative when we can actually grow incredible wine or incredible grapes, yes please, on our estate and make great wine out of it. So let's detach ourselves from this cooperative and let's start our own venture under the name of our family name, which is Planeta.
So one thing we know, striking out on your own and starting our business is hard, frightening, difficult,
yes, all of those things.
All of those kind of things. So they left the warm embrace of a cooperative where they're obviously insulated from risk, but never had a chance to do it themselves. And thank fuck they did.
Different views. Obviously, they had a lot of experience of actually working with grape varietals. So they thought, you know, we're going to do our own thing. 1985 is where they set up their own venture and started planting some vines. 1995 is when they started producing their first wines, particularly coming from their Menthi HQ. Working with indigenous grape varieties and later introducing international varieties. Extraordinary varied soils all throughout the island, and it's almost like a journey. There's like a thread throughout all these little areas where they've got wineries, vineyards. Now they've grown into pretty much one of the biggest players in Sicily. 6 different boutique wineries, Menthi being one of them. You've got Noto, you've got Etna, you've got Vittoria, you've got what's the other one called? And Capo Milazzo, which is in the northern part of the mountain range as well, which is their smallest appellation.
So from memory, the mountain range has got near Etna's got a weird sort of Scottish name, but you carry on.
I was at Capo Milazzo, but yeah, loads of different vineyards all throughout, spanning over somewhat about 50 hectares on average, 40 to 50, and some of the smaller ones.
Do they fuck around with the west at all? With the west of
not much. So it's more like towards the south and Etna and the northern part. So it's more towards the east kind of sort of like area. 6 different boutique wineries with multiple vineyards attached to those wineries to get the actual fruit as quick to the wineries as you can, because we know transportation can sometimes be an issue. You have to travel too long. As soon as you pick the fruit from its mothering body, it will start deteriorating. So you want it to be as quick as possible. So not all of these wineries are like state-of-the-art wineries that we just saw, like that's their home.
That's Ulmo.
That's Ulmo. That's their base.
All these other ones, ranch is the best way that you describe it.
And the other ones are like sort of like little sheds and little bits of old buildings from the 1600s that have sort of like kept alive and started building around a little bit with some winemaking equipment, but they kept it into its original form quite well, which is also like a tip of the hat to their heritage. Incredible story, and it really reflects into what they put out there with all the wine. I've got to tell you, I don't think I can actually think of a bad wine that I've tried from the guys at Planeta.
No, the wines that I've had that have underwhelmed have been purely down to my taste.
Okay,
what I like,
so
what
like
I don't.
Yeah, like Syrah, yeah. Okay.
But their Cerasuolo is
amazing,
is fantastic.
Some of it's really great value for money as well. Maybe not in the current
I mean,
climate.
there are smaller, excellent winemakers in Sicily, like Donna Fugata. Like,
are we on the timer, by the way?
No,
I'm gonna cut out in a second.
Anymore,
Remember that? Because we're an hour and a half in, we're only halfway. In fact, we're not even halfway because we've still got 3 wines to do.
Guys, should we move on to wine number 3?
I think
because I think we probably should, because like you say, we're an hour and a half into it.
Yeah, but there's so many great stories to tell about this winery. We could talk about this all night.
Let's keep going, and you can keep telling stories then. So
okay.
wine number 3,
I'm
going to leave some of the Chardonnay.
I'm doing the same thing actually. Maybe because just I might be picking a little bit too soon. So next up, we're going to be visiting Etna. So
yeah, Etna on the northeastern part of Sicily. Active volcano, and when we say active, we mean active. I've been to Taormina a couple of times, which is a little town up in the hills, looking directly at Etna, and you see at the top, you see this kind of like this red flash every now and then. And I thought for the longest time as I was staring at it, it was like, oh, they've got one of those flashy red lights to stop planes flying into it and all that kind of stuff. No, that's lava. That's their explosions off the top of Mount Etna. It is a constantly. You go further north into the actual ocean. You've got the island of Stromboli, and Stromboli is like a full on, like, people don't live on that island. Very few people live on that island because it is a proper fucking volcano.
Oh right, okay.
Shit going on all the time, but Etna is constantly erupting, and when it does erupt, it kind of is a slow eruption. And there are obviously some that are a bit more spectacular, but mostly it's a slow eruption, and the lava then flows down. And as it flows down the side of the mountain, it cools and solidifies. The winemakers who have plots of land, they're constantly in conflict with one another. They're trying to buy the land downstream, if you like, of the most recent eruptions, because they know that in 5 years, after the sun has baked it, made it really friable, the rain, which falls on Etna more than anywhere else in Sicily, hits it, wind blows it, and it all flows down. The soil further down from these eruptions are like supercharged. So that we had an eruption there 20 years ago. This soil now a little bit played out, but that one we had an eruption 8 years ago. That soil is absolutely peaking perfectly because it has been, it's full of all of the nutrients and minerals and everything from that eruption. In particular. From that eruption. So downhill from an eruption, that is peak real estate. That is the shit that.
It's erupting again.
Well, if you've got like a little plot of land, you go, there's an eruption, and there's like, so obviously as with all mountains, it's not smooth, right? So if you're like, there's a little sort of re-entral valley that goes down, you have an eruption, it fills up with lava, you know that downhill from that's going to be absolutely pengers in about 8 to 10 years time. So all of a sudden winemakers are like, so do you already have vines growing here? Because if not, we want to plant some, because it's going to take about 4 years for that to then start growing and about 10 years for it to hit maturity, by which point that soil is going to be absolutely banging. Let's rock and roll.
Let's have a look. So so what you find on Etna particularly is Nerello Mascalese, Nerello Cappuccio, Caricante, Catarratto. When we're talking about wide varieties, this is Nerello Mascalese in its purest form. We did this in store last week. It was arguably the highlight of the tasting, right next to the Chardonnay. The Chardonnay is obviously hard to beat. Well, this was by far, and we did the Burdesi, which is a Cabernet, which is like some similar price point to this. And this blew out of the water just because of a hot day as well, wasn't it? It was really hot last Saturday, and this was just a perfect wine. So we've slightly chilled it, which means we've taken it out of the fridge just before the start of the tasting. I'd like to think that you guys done the same thing, which means a little bit of chill will really lend itself really well, because this is almost like Pinot Noir territory. The way that wine looks, let's have a little look at it, shall we? Almost translucent. It almost looks like, almost going to say it leans into towards rosé territory.
Can I push back on that a little bit, because there is a brickiness to it, which belies it. Like it's not sort of like Gamay bubblegummy. It's not kind of like
purple Gamay. So this is, but that's what you get from the grape variety. Nerello usually looks like this. I did a Sulfurgano barbecue last week, and I had a little bottle in my wine rack. unbelievable. But yeah, this is on par, if not better.
Big words.
Big words.
That's a really, really good wine. But pale, fairly uniform in color. There is a deepness. No, not a deepness. It's. I'm trying to think because it's not getting ruby. It's not getting garnet. It's sort of like living as a sort of hybrid between the two.
There's a little bit tawny. There's like sort of like a. Well, we can establish here that it's definitely a light.
Yeah, that
thin skin.
Sean says red, or Dunk says red licorice. Sean says sour cherry. I feel like I can smell ash. It might just be because you're talking about volcanoes. Kaylee says, what's the cheeses? I've no idea.
This is number 3, which is the Gruyere.
Gruyere.
So number 2 was
a little bit of smoky, nutty cheese to go with a volcanic wine.
Hey, it's almost like I thought about
almost like you thought about it.
Number 2 was just to play into that nuttiness, was a Manchego Iniesta, which is an aged, not the footballer, is a who broke my heart in 2010. Anyway,
what footballer?
What footballer? Well, whatever.
Iron Robin popped up. So
well, there you go. So yeah, lovely Manchego for the second one. Number 3 is a Gruyere. Number 4 is a Taleggio, and then number 5 is a Pecorino. Which we're gonna have the Metodo Classico. So beautiful light in color. Is it gonna be light in flavor? Potentially.
It's not that light in flavor.
Very mineral. That's obviously got to do with the black soils, so it's really unusual. So obviously the volcano will erupt. And have you got any imagery of that?
I do not, but I do have something.
One job. Can you do the images for you? I'll just sort out the rest of it. Yeah, cool. Okay, great. Well, here we go then. Got any images of the actual black soil, the varied soils of Etna? No, I don't. Okay, cool. Black soils, believe me. That's also got to do with the eruption of the volcano that will make the soil rich in minerals, which is something that will reflect onto the actual juice of the fruit that grows in that region. Super crunchy red fruit, cranberry, raspberry. There's a touch of spice there as well, almost like cinnamon. It reminds me of like some sort of cake they've had from pollen or something. I don't
Susan
know,
says smells like petrol, tastes like licorice.
Oh. Petrol, smoky. I think that's a good way to describe it as well. Someone say smoky. She can't say that. Yeah, smoky. Like it.
She says she can smell ash.
Oh, I can smell volcanoes. I can smell Mediterranean herbs. Similar taste. Cheers. Oh, you've already sunk your glass, have you?
Just smash.
But please don't do that again. Even though it was hilarious, we can all agree. It
wouldn't be.
Well, it was pretty funny. Found something, yeah.
So two things.
Oh, wow.
Firstly, this is off from the slopes of Etna. You notice the difference in the soil. These are super young Caricante vines that are being trained up, which is what's that style?
You're thinking of pergola. This will be Guyot still. So this is sort of still similar midway. It's not.
But you'll notice, I mean, firstly, it's when it looks cloudy,
smoky.
It looks, but that is just because you're actually really high up in the air.
All right.
You're really high up in altitude, and so you do actually get some low-lying clouds that kind of clouds everything up. You'll notice that the soil is a lot darker than the pictures of the vines in Ulmo, Menfi. That is all volcanic minerals. Like I say, these are Caricante. These are really young. These aren't yet fit for making wine. But everywhere is steep because it is mountainous, and so the drainage is super fast. And you would think that would make the soil really dry, but because there's so much rainfall there compared to the rest of Sicily, it's like loamy soil. Not loamy. It's like moist soil that you would find in Northern Europe, as opposed to the really sort of dried out. I just want to show you this one as well, just because it is quite a nice vid. This is the Ulmo winery, just to give you an idea of the kind of.
Good that.
Pretty good that. Oh wow.
Take that on a potato, did you?
That's really not. Are you guys saying that clearer than I am, or is it just the same for you guys as well? Anyway,
I hope so.
good job, Tom.
Hey, do you know what edizione?
Good job.
Do you know what edizione?
I'm gonna go with eruption.
Correct.
Hey.
So in 1614, so on the bottle it says edizione 1614. So I don't know how that is in Italian. Do you know?
1614. I don't know. I guess a quick Google search will
Google it up
will
and let us know.
tell us.
But in 1614, the volcano had its biggest eruption to date, which lasted for 10 years.
Oh, shit.
They named it after that. Obviously, that was very, very, very helpful to the soil. Obviously, that lava turned into beautiful volcanic mineral-rich soils. But yeah, they named it after that.
Sean says, I'm normally very mistrustful of chilled reds, which I can back up 100%. She does not vibe off them at all. But she said, this one might have changed my mind. Still full of flavor. Might have found that the perfect summer red. I'll back you up. I've got a picture. There's always distrust somebody that has a picture of themselves on their phone cover. Because that's normally a real red flag. But my favorite picture that I've got is me drinking a Nerello Mascalese hanging off a boat in Sicily. This wine is perfect summer wine. You can chill it, but it's also robust enough that if you don't chill it, it can stand up to something like it's got lovely lifted acidity because it's grown at altitude.
So good.
It can stand up to whatever you want, whether it's a slow cooked ragu or whether it's even barbecued meat. It can stand up to that. But if you chill it, it's a different kind of beast. Now, when we say about chilled reds, the deal is when you chill something, you chill the fruit out of it. What you cannot chill out of it is tannin. And so if you chill a wine like a Shiraz, which is very, very high in tannins, from the thick skins, or a Malbec, very, very high in tannins, you will end up chilling all of the fruit out, but be left with all of that tannin because you can't chill the tannin out of it. So you lose all the fruit and you're left with that. And it can be a little bit aggressive. Let's put it that way. Because these skins are so thin, there's so much less tannin given into this wine. So when you chill it means you don't have an imbalance of too much tannin and not enough fruit. You chill everything down. There isn't that much tannin to start off with because it's a thin skin. It's why you can do it with a Gamay. It's why you can do it with a Pinot Noir. It's why you can do it with a Grenache, Nouveau style, like the Shafee Brothers, Pax Turner. You can chill those kind of reds, but you've got to be careful about what reds you chill. It's not a universal thing. But this absolutely lends itself to it. It's outstanding, isn't it? Yeah. But it is.
Let me talk about the winemaker,
Okay.
because it kind of echoes what you've just tried to sort of like, struggle your way through to explaining. When they pick the fruit, it's all about delicate handling.
I've got that through, yeah. That was good.
There you go. So they pick it, goes into small crates again to avoid any sort of early pressing. It's immediate refrigeration as well. When it gets to the vineyard, they chill the fruit down. So again, it keeps sort of like its beautiful aromas intact. Then hand selection. So it goes through the selection process as well. So they pick the best fruit out there to go into this wine. They're also making it Rossa. So maybe the ones that don't make it into this top end, the Nerello Mascalese expression, that probably goes into their lower end. Still amazing.
They do have Planeta. They just have their Etna range. They have a white Etna Bianco and Etna Rosso, which I think is 100 Nerello as well. Nerello Mascalese, because Nerello Cappuccio is the other one that's out there, but less often used.
I'll have to Google it.
But this is their top end thing that is not dissimilar in price as these two, which tells you an awful lot about the quality of what we're talking about here. It's up there in terms of the price and quality levels with the Sol Vulcano from Donna Fugata. I mean, this is an outstanding wine. There is no doubt about this. This sits up there as a banging wine.
I'm gonna maybe throw it out there. It's probably the finest Etna wine that I've tried. Yeah,
beats the Sol Vulcano.
I don't know, but maybe just because the last two times I tried it, so I tried it last week and I tried it tonight, and it's just absolutely banging. Like Sean just said, I'd like to echo that. It's like it's still got flavor when you chill it down, and sometimes that could sometimes be a little bit subdued when you start chilling something down. It's a killer of flavor. It could just be a little bit difficult to digest. This has still got bags of texture to the wine. Still got beautiful fruit purity in it. Going back to the actual winemaker, so they chill it, then hand selection. destalk, ferment in still. So there's no oak involved there whatsoever. And it's 21 days on skins. That's actually quite a long time.
I guess you have to do that because the skins are so thin.
Exactly. If you want to get some color into the wine, you need to leave it on the skins for that tad longer. But then it's rather than punching down or pumping over, they actually gently stir the skins through rather than having loads of oxidative characteristics going into your wine by moving wine from the bottom of the fermentation tank and pumping it back over the top. That might start imperfecting your actual liquid. So by gently stirring those skins through, you're going to get extraction and you're going to get aromatic extraction as well, but not as in it's going to oxidize your wine. It's still really fresh and forward. After that is then done, they put it onto a vertical press, which is literally, as long as it's stable, probably even longer, two big sort of like tablets that press everything but vertically, rather than it being like a basket press or a bladder press. This is like done on two different tables, which means that it spreads.
Is where you have something, it's in a basket full, there's a bladder in there, and you inflate it, and it presses it against the sides, all the juice on the outside. What's a basket press? Similar?
Basket press is when you invert it. So it's almost like a barrel, right? So say, think of a barrel, but without the tops and the bottoms. Well, there will be a bottom on it because obviously the juice will go everywhere, but I guess that's what they want. So there's definitely no top. So all the slats, they slightly get sort of like corkscrewed with.
So it's basically expanding.
It's going like that,
right?
Inwards.
Okay.
Inwards by pressing all the pommers together,
and then that sounds like that would be quite aggressive.
Could be quite aggressive, yeah.
Quite sort of. There's quite a lot of friction going on there.
Quite a lot of friction.
Basically,
skin contact.
Pushing it all together.
Exactly. So you've got it compacted together. When it's on a vertical press, it's literally laid down, spread out.
Where does the juice go? It all stays there in contact with the skins and all
underneath. It gets collected underneath. So these are like.
But this is like with a vertical press. Once that pressure starts to be applied, juice can just disappear anywhere. So you can get that first run stuff.
So there's minimal interaction with the skins. Obviously, with a basket press, there's lots of interaction with the skins. Same with a bladder press. Because you're
crushing it all together, whereas that's you're squeezing it down.
Yeah, squeezing it down.
For some reason, that does make sense.
I'm glad it does. I'm glad it does.
That's going to be less conflict for the grape.
Then after that, there's post-fermentation skin contact. Post-ferment malolactic fermentation in still before they then rack it off into, again, barriques for 12 months. So it gets then
malolactic fermentation, the change of malic acid into lactic acid, the acid that you find in green apple getting changed to the acid that you find in yogurt. They're basically the sharpness being turned into creaminess. Just to remind you guys that haven't done 300 million of these tastings, which we all have.
So there you go. Incredible wine.
That is.
It's gonna be hard to beat that. It's probably my favorite tonight, even though I love the Chardonnay. This is incredible.
That is a really delicious wine. I understand why.
I can't imagine having it room temperature. I can't imagine having it room temperature either. It needs that chill for me. I don't know. It just makes it really energetic. It's almost like drinking a rosé, but with more to it.
But rosé with a bit more fucking oomph.
Yeah, but just a bit more robust. But yeah, it's got that almost that sort of like, it's like drinking. Do you know what? It's hard to explain. Like I'm drinking a chilled wine. It's almost like white, red, but this is perfect.
It's like fucking yayo party wine.
Super energetic.
It wants something chilled and fucking, but that's going to stand up to the fact that you're at party.
So good.
It's
so good.
I was always slightly not perturbed, but I was just slightly hacked off when we were. Like the Donna Figata Sul Vulcano just wiped the floor with the Planeta Etna expression that I ever came across, which was just the Etna Rossa.
And this is
but that makes sense because that
wine is about the same. But listen, it's like 50 quid, so it's 10 more than this.
It's probably not a full 10 more than that. But the point is that the Planeta Etna is a full 20 less than both.
30 quid that one, yeah.
Is it?
Yeah.
Is that because of
Brexit,
inflation?
Brexit and inflation, my friend.
But it was 20, 22,
back
20,
in the day, it was 20 pence a bottle.
20.
I can remember.
I remember when it was all fields around here. But that wine is sort of it sits around mid-20s, which is significantly cheaper, but it's also significantly more underwhelming And that now makes perfect sense why this is their top end stuff. That's what competes with the
So bright, so flavoursome. Yeah, fantastic expression. So anyone that didn't like that, because I wouldn't be surprised, because it's not going to be everybody's cup of tea.
I haven't heard anything negative, but people tend not to post negative stuff
you're dead to me.
because we have created an ecosystem of positivity here at Grape to Grain. Susan says, a very, very nice indeed, but would you choose it over a chilled white? It's horses for courses, isn't it? It all depends what you want it to do. A chilled white has a role to play, and it plays it really well. This chilled red has a more niche role, but it also plays it better than any white wine perhaps could. So it all depends what you want it to do.
Very, very different from a white wine. It's something that sits in its own little niche category of chilled reds. You know, you can go on. You can chill down a Gamay, you can chill down a Cabernet Franc, you can chill down, you know, anything that's from a cooler climate where there's no extremes in climate, so it becomes, you know, like a nice, like light drink to drink. From something from Etna usually is relatively chillable because of the altitude.
Here's what I'd say: it all depends what the fuck is going on around you. If this was October and it was cold outside, and we had no heating up here, which we've done for 3 fucking winters now. Whatever is it 3 or it's definitely enough winters.
Something depressing like that.
Enough coldness in this studio, right? And having a chilled red would be like, no,
right? Not a good idea to have.
But because it was record-breaking temperature early in the week, because it's still nice and warm and it's slightly cooler now, and still quite muggy, and that chill is real nice because you don't necessarily want a big, heavy, weighty wine.
I agree.
That's why I think this Merlot is going to bang, because instead of the Cabernet, which maybe this has got a really bright acidity, because that is
right up your
classic
street.
Merlot.
This is right up your street. This.
Yeah,
it's so crazy. Tom Platz, it's unbelievable.
That's right. So yeah, it depends what you want it to do. I wouldn't choose it just as a default, just as I wouldn't default choose a white wine. It all depends what you're going to have it with. If you're going to have it with like a,
I wouldn't substitute it for a glass of white. You know, if you take the decision to order something like this, and you know you're drinking a chilled red, I think.
So I made an 8-10 hour slow cooked ragu.
Wow.
Which I've had in my freezer, and I just take out and eat every 3rd day.
Absolutely
outrageous, right? But that with the kind of with all the fats going on with the pork and beef stuff, that with the slow cook and super intensity of the beef stock and the reduced red wine, all the rest of it, you want something maybe a little bit sharp to kind of slice through it. Maybe you don't want something super weighty. I think that would.
Do you know about cooking? No. Shut up. Come to my
right, okay, wine number 4. Let's go, ladies and gents. Wine number 4. This is the Sito del Ulmo, which is I guess the site of Ulmo.
Correct. Did you come up with that all by yourself?
It's not complicated.
Oh, very well done.
Both English and Italian have a Latin base.
I didn't know you were bilingual there, Tom.
Well, wouldn't go that far, you know.
Definitely put on an accent to make it sound like you are bilingual, but yeah, this is I've
had close male friends, but never fully bilingual.
That's funny. That single varietal, single vineyard Merlot, which is actually really hard to come by. This is something that they like. No, not in Italy. They like it to keep it for themselves.
This stuff
is hard to find in the UK. So this is something that has
hang out with the kids from Grape to Grain. You get all the good shit.
This has been allocated to us. So this is not something that you find everywhere. So this is a primeur. It's not something that I've tried before. Yeah, this is right up the street. Yeah. For that reason, I don't like it.
Immediately, you like that.
Dismiss. Just like a cat.
I watched one the other day that did it whilst, because cats sometimes they go, hey. Hey. This one went like that. He went, hey, and he just looks at them like that. It's like, fuck you. It wasn't even like a small thing. It was like a pint glass full of water. But that cat had to exert a lot of force comparative to the weight of the cat to push this entire pint full of, and it wasn't even like just a regular pint glass. It was a Handelsstein of fucking water. They were like, don't you fucking do it. And the cat was like, Fuck you.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Just fucking, it was absolutely outstanding.
I'm glad this was during work, was it? Okay. Awesome.
Well, I watched it.
Yeah, probably.
Well,
Quite
It
possibly.
was on the loo.
Whatever.
Anyway.
So this is their single vineyard, single.
Oh, it's a
grape.
deep bay. It is a proper deep inky bay, which is super Merlot-y, right?
This was planted alongside the Chardonnay when it first started off in Montpellier.
Those pictures that I was showing you, they were pictures of the Merlot, or it could have been the Syrah, but whatever. I don't fucking know.
Hey, listen.
Baz knows the difference.
Listen, yeah. I'm not going to take the risk of gambling on which one it is.
Who's gonna put you up in it? Planeta gonna phone you up and say, "Hey, you fucking bastard! That was a Syrah, not a Merlot. You are fucking putting on a
I didn't see the leaves.
on the Great to Great Live YouTube channel. Make sure you hit the like and subscribe button."
Oh, wow.
Is it racist?
Yeah, definitely.
Massimo will tell us.
So let's look at the color of this wine.
I
So
said I wanted to get drunk.
yeah, this is deteriorating real quick.
You say that. I feel like it's aging like a fine wine, just like you guys at home.
Just like this as well, because this is some
Ah,
wine
okay.
of 6 years old. This was harvested in 2016. This is when they made the wine.
Hey Ben.
Which means in the deepest
How's it going, man?
part of the wine, it is still relatively inky, but on the outlines you can see there's a little bit of discoloration going on. That's got to do with the age of the wine, maybe perhaps a little bit of winemaking as well.
6 years,
It's been 14 months in oak.
Right. So run through the top lines of this.
It's Merlot, single vineyard, single varietal. It is from their home ranch. This is when they make the wine, again, it goes through that same rigorous process of destalking, selection in the vineyard, make sure that the right fruit goes into the actual blend. So this is from their Maroccoli vineyard, so sort of like 45 hectares, little small pocket, but one particular. This is right on the banks on the banks of Lake. I forgot Arancio.
Arancini.
Like
The
Arancio.
best of food that you're gonna get in Sicily.
This is 195 meters of altitude, which will give you a bit of a diurnal shift, which means you got hot days and cool nights.
Right on the water. And as we mentioned, you get water heats up quicker and cools quicker.
14 days on skins
Because of
fermentation.
science.
And it's racked into barrique, so similar size of barrel. This is French wood. It undergoes malolactic fermentation through the fruit, which is definitely you can sense that on the nose. Sort of like those vanilla soft compounds, you can find that there. 14 months it stays then in barrel before it then gets bottled and into our shelves and then into your mouth. So have a little taste. What can you guys see, smell, and all of that? Because I don't think we've done
Smells
that.
like Merlot.
Tom's had a glass of wine, everyone. So deep in the deepest part of the pool, slightly brick and gun on the outlines. The legs are relatively slow and robust, I like to think. It's not a stainer though, you know, when
It's got a really nice tannic finish at the end.
Oh,
I'm jumping ahead.
that's okay.
Sean says, it smells like an oak barrel filled with vanilla rice pudding with jam on top. Tastes like it as well. Can I have a bottle of this as well? Yes, you can as well.
There's one right here for you, Sean, with your name on it. In fact, I'm seeing you tomorrow for our 6th birthday tasting.
Woo!
What's up? We are turning 6 last month, and we're doing a tasting tomorrow because we couldn't fit it in elsewhere. But we're tasting some incredible stuff.
It was last month. It was the 16th of last month.
That's right. That's
God
right.
damn.
Doing some Premier Cru champagne. We're doing some Pouligny Montrachet. We're doing some mountain wine from Col Solare. Our friends at Chateau Saint Michel and Marquesio Antinori collaboration.
Oh,
Doing some Eroica Riesling from the same winery. Oh my God, I can't wait. But back to the Merlot. Really a fruity on the nose, jammy. I don't really like to call wines jammy because it's sort of like pigeonholes them into it's stewed, it's over extracted, but it's that sort of like comfortness that you really like in wine.
yeah, 100%. This has got, but this also has a slight. I mean, a lot of the kind of super over extracted, Pulian, Primitivos, and that
I've
kind
got
of stuff.
eucalyptus.
Merlot, for some reason, and maybe that's why they refer to them as the noble varietals. I don't know. They're obviously very expressive of the fact of where it's grown.
Balsamic vinegar on them.
Yeah.
What
The glaze, the little fucking reduction.
Like listen,
Reduction, eh?
listen, this is not gateway wine. That's what I class Merlot as to be. It's like gateway wine, man. It's like just fruity and it's just a little bit bullshitty. But this has actually got layers to it. This has got
See,
Mediterranean
I'd
herb.
love to push Baz on this, whether he's just saying that just because because he's not a Merlot guy. I don't know whether he's just playing up to the crowd, playing up to the fact this is the producer spotlight, or are you actually saying that this is a delicious wine? We'll find out when it comes to his 1, 2, 3, won't we? Let's be honest.
Just because of that, it's going to come in.
Apparently, Duncan thought that she was going to an emergency work meeting tomorrow. You know what, Sean? You need to stop hiding shit from Duncan, okay? Or using Duncan as some kind of excuse as to why
this is actually true. Because
you're
that
coming
is
to
hilarious.
Grain to booze it up, okay? Hey, I've got you this as a surprise. I might be revealing too much here, to be honest with you. But Dunk, she's not going to an emergency meeting. She's coming to 6th birthday, and I hope she's bringing you. And if not, we've still got one space left. So there we go. But as opposed to some sort of the pecorino,
whatever,
it's because it's supposed to be fucking grated, but he's a block of it. Jesus Christ.
I was trying to hold it together.
I was thinking I want us to start a podcast, and it's called The Pissed Artists.
Oh my god!
We basically just get.
It's giving me goosebumps, but not the right kind.
Sean says he's got to look after the kids and the dogs. Maybe in a few years, you'll both be able to come out together.
I didn't hear any of that. Wow, what is that? I'm so sorry I gave you guys that. But luckily it's only the bonus bottle. Oh my days, what is that? Woo! That's a roller coaster of flavour. You don't think so? Wow. Oh, that was like a punch in the mouth. It's not supposed to be that. But where's the Taleggio? Did you eat it all? Oh my god. Didn't leave any for me.
Yeah, reap what you fucking sow with that Gruyere, eh?
I like that Gruyere. It's really nice, but like I'd like to come back to what you just said. The tannic structure, that's actually quite unusual for Merlot.
So the reason why I guess I was comparing this favorably to other southern Italian wines, which are a bit obvious, is the tannin at the end isn't completely compressed by residual sugar in a Primitivo.
It's just trying to be Cabernet, but it's not, is it?
Fuck you. I drink Cabernet. Is that tannin just kind of dries it out a little bit and makes it a little bit more grown up.
Yeah, okay. I don't 100%.
Tell us more about this wine that you're deeply unimpressed by then.
No, yeah, I'm unimpressed. Distilled for 13 days on skin firm, and I'm sure I've already done this. Back in malolactic fermentation for 14 months. I tasted the Burdesi, which is the one that we're supposed to do, and I think I prefer that because it's Cabernet. There you go. But what do you guys think at home? Because, you know, forget about what I say, because what do I know? What do you guys think at home? Do you guys think this is superior to the previous wine? Or do you think that the Nerello Mascalese has blown out of the water and is your favorite bed of the evening?
Objection leading. Fucking hell. If Johnny Depp versus Amber Heard taught me anything, that was a leading question. So do you think that this wine is the best? Or do you think this glorious, magnificent example of wine that was birthed from twixt
the slopes of Mount Etna,
the legs of Diana, the goddess of the hunt, given to us honestly and virginally? Do you think that's the good one, or do you think that one's all right? Do you like that one? Do you like that one that probably fucking, you know, claps when the fucking plane lands?
It's sparkling wine time!
I'll open it on camera then, you fucking idiot.
Sorry.
Oh my god. Kaylee definitely prefers the Mascalese, but that's because she's just trying to be your mate.
No, she knows what's up.
Lale, like 4 more, but enjoyed 3 too. Barry's being mean to the Merlot. I take it back, Kaylee. I take it back.
Barry's being mean to the Merlot.
Yeah. And Sean brings a little bit of sense to this partisan hackery. Not comparable, different vibe.
Yeah. Well,
exactly.
Well,
so
fine, Sean, because it's you. I'll allow that, but yeah.
But also because Sean is a lawyer from memory. So she 100% is there going.
You're always right.
Objection leading. Objection, Your Honour. Leading. Objection.
Give us 2 clean glasses, please.
I've got 1 clean glass.
I'll have that one.
I smashed mine.
Oh yeah, you did, didn't you? You absolute muppet. Right. Just
I will clean it out with this.
so this comes. Oh my God. Can't take them anywhere.
Make sure you hit that like.
Oh my God. Just for comical effect, come here. It's like how not to do a wine tasting by Tom.
At least this is
Smashing glasses and pouring wine over it.
Grape Train Live tasting YouTube
On his
channel. Make sure you
laptop, on his
smash
shirt.
that like and
Can't. Oh man, yeah. All sorts of comedy effect there. This is the end of the tasting for you guys that didn't go for a bonus bottle. Tell you what, you made a mistake here because we are now going to drink a traditional method Carry Cante that's seen a minimum of 24 months on the lease. That's nearly, well, not nearly double, but it's over the amount that they do in Champagne as a minimum. So that's going to be really, really exciting.
Oh Lord, Lizzie Paul, I just like how Barry called Merlot bullshitty.
Did I?
If he didn't, then that should.
That's not true. I didn't say that.
Fucking bullshitty Merlot.
Bullshitty Merlot. £40 bottle of single variety, single vineyard.
That's such a wine wank thing to do as well, is to hate Merlot because it's Merlot. Merlot. I watched Sideways.
I remember my first wine.
Yeah. What is the movie where the guy's like, where he's tasting is it Sideways?
Yeah, Sideways. Yeah, I think so.
Like
Yeah.
a hint of asparagus. Like, what are you doing with your ear? But that's not like because the guy says in that, he says something like, you know, like I would never drink a Merlot. Fuck a Merlot. I would fucking let a Merlot. You know, whatever. He doesn't like it, but it's bullshit. Merlot's amazing, and that is a particularly good Merlot as well. How's it going? How's it going, man? You all right, man? Yeah. What are you doing with me? Ben's recovering from COVID.
So he's not allowed any wine.
He's not allowed any wine because it's not going to be
No.
conducive to his healing.
He's not.
That being said, he is going to come down. Ben, are you going to have some wine? Oh, yeah, mate.
And I don't think so.
Oh, I can come in and try some fucking wine. Yeah, he's going to come down and try
There
some
he
wine.
is.
So there we
Fucking
go.
happy puss, isn't he?
I'm not drinking.
The COVID's fell off your feet.
Have you heard this bullshit? Oh, I'm not fucking drinking, man.
Gemma's wine. No.
Drink it.
So come and show yourself on camera and say hello to everybody on
Hey,
YouTube.
everybody.
This is Ben, everybody.
It's Ben. You remember him from such tastings as, oh, here's a fucking guy. I'm not fucking Australian.
We're going to be doing an Australian spotlight on Ben, and then he's not going to show up for it.
You're going to get COVID again.
Some shade. Yeah.
Hey, he's tested negative twice today. So
Don't
it's
come
completely
in.
cushy.
Don't come
That's a
in.
Merlot. What do you think of it?
Ah, no one cares, mate. Ooh.
That's delicious.
Yeah, thanks very much.
There
There
we
we go.
go.
All right,
Thank
good on
you,
you, Ben.
You like it, yeah?
Yeah. Rounded.
Ah, man, I'll teach you a thing or two about wine in a minute.
So you don't like it?
Don't
'cause it's
listen
pure
to this.
Merlot.
Yeah, yeah.
Don't listen to this fucking bullshit, man.
So, we've done the main tasting. We're obviously now onto the bonus bottle. So we'd like to hear from you guys. What was your favorite?
Let's
wine?
go. We need
to cut one of them.
We need a 1, 2, 3. We don't need the fourth because it just makes things confusing. But from the still wines, let's get your 1, 2, 3. Baz,
It's not yours to say what I think.
I'm gonna go 2, 3, 4.
Mate, why are you putting 4 in there? It's just really easy.
2, 3, 4.
It's going to be 3, 2, 1 for me.
3, 2, 1. Fuck you, Merlot. Right, okay.
It's nice, but yeah, but I have to stick to my guns now and
that's a bit
just say that
childish,
it didn't make the cut. But yeah, I
Kaylee
did
has
like
gone 3, 2, 4. So the Norello is in first place for Kaylee. Lale has gone 2, 4, 1. So the Norello doesn't even make the cut.
Oh my God, who am I going to
Paul has gone 2, 4, 1. No, Paul has gone 2, 1, 3. 2, 1, 3. So the Merlot doesn't make the cut for Paula.
That's my man.
Yeah.
I said Paul.
She's
Paul Burton.
definitely a chick.
Hi,
Sorry, you don't mind me calling you a chick, do you? Right, so although we're definitely getting demonetized off this.
Oh
mate.
my God, it's
Fucking-
never going to make onto our YouTube channel.
Mate,
Here.
mate, I believe- that's no, it's going to be on the clips. Sean was 2, 4, 3.
Okay, I cannot live that.
I can not live with that. Okay. Dunk, however, was 2, 4, 1. So the Norello doesn't even make it.
Dunk, you are dead to me, my friend.
Lizzie and Paul, both of them were 2, 4, 3. And Caroline Mabs, on what we heard, We're 243. We really appreciate you still getting involved, Caroline.
Caroline, I told you, Merlot is
the
not
Mabs
good.
is still getting involved. Tell you what we're going to do, Mabs, is this is saved on our Grape Live YouTube channel. Make sure you smash that like and subscribe button. We're going to send you through some of this wine. We'll also roll over your credit to the next tasting you guys want to book on, but we'll send you a taster of all of these still wines so that you can have a little sipperoo, and we'll see you on the next one. Do you want to go on the Albarino one or the Ken Forrester one or both? Both. Right, okay, no worries. We'll sort that out. Right, okay.
It's good to be back.
It is good to be back, and it feels a bit. Oh, I'm going to stand up as well, mate, just so everyone else can finally see how much taller than you I actually am. There we go.
I'll be taller, but I'm more handsome. But
it does feel like we're back as well, because this not only the wine has been great, but we've got a little bit pissed. We've got good friends on there. We're live on YouTube, which means that we're basically Jake Paul. It's like, you know, I'm looking very tanned thanks to pre-season rugby training starting in the fucking in the sunshine. You're looking massive because you're much closer to the camera. I mean, all of the good things.
I've been hitting the gym, my friend.
Baz is an athlete now, apparently.
I'm a unit athlete.
You're a eunuch.
For professional kickboxing.
Baz has started kickboxing. So if you get close to him,
actually,
he'll put you in the clinch and then knee you in the liver. So I just wouldn't go close to him if I were you, because he sounds like a fucking menace. Right, tell us a little bit about this Planeta so that we can then drink the rest of it. Cool. Okay, ladies and gents, that was the last.
Sparkling wine from the slopes of Planeta. So we are still in this mineral-rich area here, volcanic soils. Caricante, which is a indigenous grape variety. No, get that shit away from me. What is that? I'm so sorry, whoever's got the bonus bottle, and I gave you that cheese. It just looked nice. It's like, it looks Italian. In fact, it is Italian. Gailey. Horrible. Thanks, guys. Cheers, Gailey. So this is a traditional method sparkling wine, which means that it goes through a secondary fermentation in the bottle, which makes the bubbles occur naturally rather than being forced into the wine like a Prosecco, for instance, which is Charmat method, where they transfer it from tank to tank under CO2 pressure. This happens naturally. So they harvest the fruit in small baskets, again, to stop any sort of like oxidative characteristics.
Catarato, so Etna.
It's Caricante.
Caricante.
Yes, mine Etna, which is, I'd like to think, one of the only sparkling wines that comes from this area. I've never tried a sparkling wine from mine Etna before. Google that stuff, find one. So traditional method. Base wine gets made from the fruit that's harvested off the actual vineyards. They press it, they collect the juice, it goes through vinification in stainless steel. Now, in this case, they keep it on lees until March. So harvest happens in September, so that's a good 6 months already, right? Yeah, 6 months on lees. So they let the wine mellow out, then goes into the bottle ready for tirage. Tirage is where they add a solution of grape juice, yeast and sugar to it, which means that then they can then start up the fermentation again inside of the bottle, because this time they cap it with a crown cap, just like in champagne. It then carbonates the wine naturally. They leave it then on the lees, because the lees, in this case, cannot go anywhere, which means that it remains in the bottle. So you've got a yeast deposit inside of the bottle and leaves it on there for a whopping 20 months. So after that.
Classic Etna Spumante is made with Nerello.
There you go. And is that a Bianco, or is this a red?
It is a Bianco.
So just like champagne, because in champagne you can use
Pinot Noir and
Pinot Meunier, both red grape varieties.
Sparkling ones from Etna do not always follow the Etna DOC protocols, which stipulate that it must be Nerello Mascalese. Some wineries choose to use other varieties like Caricante or Chardonnay to make Etna wines. We also choose to make wines using the Charmat method. This does not happen with this one. They must choose DOC Sicilia Spumante, IGT Terra Siciliane Spumante, or simply Vino Frizzante. What is it on there? DOC Sicilia Spumante Bianco. So
Metodo Classico VSQ. Anyway, he's going to look up what that means. So back to the actual vinification. So at this point, the wine is finished fermenting inside of the bottle. The lees deposit has been created inside of the bottle, and they leave it on there for 20 months. At this point, they're going to be starting to riddle the wine. What that means is they're going to grab a bottle like this, the yeast deposit being in there, and slightly turn it every single day until the yeast deposit is all sunk into the neck. And then freeze it, put it back upside down, and they're going to start the disgorging process, which means getting rid of that crown cap. The pressure inside of the bottle will, they freeze it first, which means that yeast deposit over here turns into an ice cube. Back upside down, pop the crown cap, and the pressure inside of the bottle will force that ice cube with the yeast trapped inside outside of the wine, which then creates a clear wine. At this point, you can choose to add a dosage to it. Usually with champagne, it's between 7 and 12 grams of sugar per liter. In this case, as far as I'm aware, there's no sugar added to it whatsoever. Obviously, completely different grape variety than the classic Chardonnay, Pinot Meunier, and Pinot Noir that you find in Champagne. Let's have a little taste. Sounds incredible. It's definitely a primeur for me. It's not something that I've ever tried before. Sparkling wine.
Primeur, what does that mean?
Like
New wine?
first
time.
Yeah, it's a français, huh? You know. But primeur, we also say it in the Netherlands because in the Netherlands we like to steal other languages and make it our own. So
exactly. So Sean says it smells like when you make enriched bread dough, you middle class mother hubbards.
Enriched bread dough.
It's like when you make a sourdough. You've left it for a bit and the dough starts going frothy. So that would be yeastiness from the lees aging.
Fermented bread dough. I like it. Like a sourdough, like a horticulture.
It's pronounced sourdough.
Oh, okay. Sorry. Just looking at the color, relatively yellow in color. There's not really much of a discoloration. Maybe. Yeah.
Some slight green flecks. I'd say there's more of a lemon yellow reflex.
We need to look at the bubbles here now as well, for obvious reasons. It's sparkling wine. The mousse is actually quite delicate, which reminds me an awful lot of champagne because it's made in the same way. When it's a Chamet method, you can see that the bottles are a little bit more larger. So
they're also with Chamet, they're clearly artificial. Like they are so consistent and like it's like bubble, like release that shit. Let's go. Let's go. When it's Chamet.
Yeah, what does it do?
Bubble. The fact that I can still say that lets you know that I am a G. Whereas when it's traditional method of Classico, etc., they're just more gentle and more. They fluctuate more. They're less kind of like robotic and clinical and consistent. They're a little bit more. There are fluctuations within each glass. Bubble.
What can you guys smell at home?
Duncan says number 3 is now in 5th place behind this. It's pushed it even further back.
Duncan, you and me are going to have
what he's basically saying is that Lorella Mascalese can suck a dick.
I'm glad you're not coming tomorrow.
Enjoy the kids and the dogs. Hey, Dunk, why don't you come down and leave Sean at home sometime, huh? Why don't you come down? Hey,
what can you guys smell at home, though? What does this wine give you aroma profile wise? I mean, it's a smokiness, man. It's like
there is definitely, but there's also oyster shell.
Wow, I'm with you.
There's a little bit of flint.
Super mineral, right?
Mineral. Yeah, big time.
Oh, hello. That's so unusual. Wow, savory, yet fruity.
The fruit, yeah.
Wow, that's the finishes. That's unlike anything I've ever tried, sparkling wine wise. So it's like licking a rock. Really unusual. Do you know what I'm saying? It's like so incredibly mineral that this is. Yeah, I can't compare it to any sparkling wine I've ever tried.
Which makes fucking loads of sense when you think about it.
Oh, hold on. There's a little hint of something a little bit sweet in the finish. Just sort of like.
I was going to say, I'm not getting savoury as much as.
Let me talk you to a little bit about the actual winemaking here. So it's 100% Caricante, grown on the slopes of Planeta, 850 meters at altitude here. So you get that diurnal shift. You get hot days, cool nights, which a nice even ripening period. Early harvest, so they actually not want this to be overripe, so over cloying. So they want it to be nice and elegant. Destem it, soft press, and then inoculate yeast to start primary fermentation in still. Ferment is then left on its leaves for, like I said, about 6 months when they go into the sort of like March area, and then bottle it for tirage to go through a secondary fermentation in the bottle. The yeast is then added with the sugar content and the other grape juice. Then it goes through that secondary fermentation whilst it's on the lees. It also goes through batonnage prior to actually bottling it. Now, 20 months on the lees is a long time. Champagne, so minimum is 15.
Batonnage before bottling.
Yep.
And then 20 months of lees aging.
Have you ever tried a straight Caricante, still or sparkling?
Yes.
Yeah. What's it like? I don't think I ever have.
It didn't leave a massive
impression on you. No. Okay. disgorged then, and I don't think there's any sugar added because this is really bone dry wine, but it's I reckon this would be really great. You know, I went to Doak's this week, new place down the road, new pizza place
In a Prestwich.
in Prestwich, amazing. From the guys, the brainchild of Alnico, which is in Anco. It's really-
Wes, the guy that owns that, is a friend that I have had since I worked at Tiger.
Oh yeah, seriously.
Back in 2002.
Oh right, okay. I think I meant.
He was the head doorman at Tiger. And one of the things I remember about him is he faced off with this pissed knobhead on a Saturday night, like that. And the guy was like, "I'll fucking this, I'll fucking that," and he was like, "Yeah, okay." And he's a boxer, right? And like I've seen him leather somebody. Like
Oh yeah, lovely.
2002, mate. A doorman in 2002 could do whatever the fuck he wanted, right? No one had any.
There was no interweb.
No one had any phone cameras.
Yeah, you can do what you want.
He like, yeah. This guy, "Oh, fuck you." It was like, yeah. And then as soon as the guy like got bored and walked away, he turned around to me and the rest of the door staff, and he was there. "Hey, never took my hands out of my pockets. Did you see that? Never took my hands out of my pockets." That was his point of great pride.
Oh
He
wow.
never took his hands out of his pockets, and he went on Dragon's Den with with like a security company, and sold that security company like door staff, and then there was obviously some tech behind it, something that you could that was patentable or sellable. But yeah, he got investment off the Dragons, made a fucking pot of cash off that, and then opened Elnicott, one of the best restaurants in Manchester. And now he's come down to Prestwich. He's opened up this pizza place. It's great for Prestwich, man. Brilliant.
Very great. We had some incredible starters, particularly the sort of like.
We're gonna do some shit with them once they've got their feet, because they are absolutely battered, as any of you will know if you've tried to get a table there.
But yeah, we had some.
You got a table because you're celebrity, isn't it?
Well, you know, I had to high five everybody when I came in, and I'm not really.
Well, apparently Sean's already been, so you're obviously not that special.
Oh, well, there you go. I went on the opening night, you know. But yeah, it was amazing, and I completely forgot why I mentioned that, but
Dogs,
yeah, I know.
pizza,
Yeah, I know.
pasta,
Yeah, but
pizza and a pasta.
I had a catarata there, which was incredible. The starters are fantastic. We had like this whipped ricotta with these sort of like pickled local vegetable, because it's all traceable to a certain farm.
Yeah,
further north.
because that's the thing, because it says Anglo-Saxon pizza. It sounds an awful lot like Brexit pizza, doesn't it? It's like, no, we're going to top our pizza with cheddar from our Wensleydale with cranberries in it. We're not going to do any of that stuff. We're just going to be right?
Right.
But actually, it's like English mozzarella, English
ingredients.
the English double O Caputo flour, English this, English that.
It was amazing.
Basically locally sourced Italian food.
Thank you so much for having me as well and looking after me that day. But yeah, the
If you're
one,
watching on Grape Live.
of course you are. And yeah, they should have this one on the menu. I guess that's what we'll end with today.
Chances Baz wins. They never had a starter, and yes, they do an English burrata. You're a poet and you didn't know it. Baz wins. Never had a starter. English burrata.
Hey, this was fun. We should do this again sometime.
We will. Albarino week tasting coming up in August, and then
Am I here for that?
you
I better be.
are.
What date is this?
It's Friday the 4th.
Oh gosh, that's 3 days before my holiday, so I'm not going to be here because I'm going to be packing my bags, isn't it?
You're not going to be packing your bags 3 days before the fucking.
Yeah, absolutely,
Friday
mate.
the 5th.
Have you met Susie?
And
I need about
yes,
six-
you are doing
six-
Friday the 5th of August, Albarino week.
I've got COVID, mate. On that. No, I want to be there for that tasting 100%.
And then 16th of September, after Baz has had his holiday, and I'm going to.
On your 5th holiday this year?
Bologna.
Yeah. Oh, wow, here we go.
Also, got another one coming up.
Oh, yeah. There we go. Another one, just in case.
Bologna, Florence.
No one cares, mate.
Right.
See you on the next one, guys.
Jobless. All right. We'll see you guys on the next tasting. Peace and love. Bye-bye.
Bye.
You're a fucking